these jams, Jordan? Sounds like Tycho. Yo, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Awesemo.com NBA Deeper Dive presented by Jock Market. I'm Dave Loughran at Laffy_D. That's LOUGHY_D to you out there in the Twitterverse. Along with, as always, Adam Scherer at Ship My Money DFS, breaking down a 5-game Tuesday slate tonight in the National Basketball Association. What's good, bro?
How's it going, man? Nice to have a 5-gamer today. And some teams getting healthier. I think it's going to be pretty fun.
Yeah, life's not too bad. There were a couple teams there's really not that much to talk about in terms of injuries. Eventually, it's just going to sweep through the league, right? And then we're not going to have any more cases.
You would think. I keep thinking that like teams have to be done sending guys, and now they come back, so I don't really know.
Does anyone escape unscathed at this point is the question.
I doubt it.
It doesn't feel like it. So we'll see. I don't know. It's good to have these guys coming back healthy and seeing less of them land on the COVID-19 list day by day. You know how you know we're getting close to the end? The Phoenix Suns actually have guys that are landing on the list. They've been impervious.
The Suns have guys landing on the list. Julius Randle finally got it. Those were like the two that I think were really standing out.
Yeah, like if they get it and they start coming down with it, it's all over in a good way. Hopefully soon we'll be back to normal. But
OKC was one of the last teams to go through it too.
Who?
OKC was one of the last teams to go through it also. For
sure. So we're happy to have you guys with us. 5 games to talk about. If you haven't done so yet, hammer that thumbs up. Greatly appreciated if you haven't done so yet. Only takes a single second. So if you like this type of stuff, you like NBA DFS, and maybe you even like us, you want to help support us, get us up to 200 likes out of the gate here and subscribe to the channel. 70,200. Thanks to you guys. Trucking upwards. We'll hit 100K soon enough, and we'll have a big celebration. Maybe YouTube will even give us one of those plaques. And if you want to join the channel, join down below. You see it right there. Join, get the badges, the emojis, the free super chats each month. We'll always prioritize your comments and questions along with our premium Discord too. So let's get into it, Adam. First question, as always, what type of builds are we looking at today? Not as many teams just completely decimated. Obviously, the Pacers have a lot of players that are going to be out again today. And not just a lot of players, but a lot of key players who are going to be sidelined. Phoenix down a few guys that have been out for a little while now, so it's not as significant as it would have been. And Cleveland's even starting to get healthy. So from a value standpoint, are we offered a lot tonight on this slate?
As of right now, I don't think there's a ton of like really cheap value. There's still some underpriced guys in that, like especially I think 4 to 5K range on DraftKings that are pretty clearly underpriced and will be good value options. There's also not all the pay up options that we had. You know, last night you had almost every star in the league. Now you have LeBron, and then you have Westbrook, and then everybody's like 10K or less pretty much. So I guess Randall's 10-7 if he plays, but so I guess it can't be as much of a stars and scrubs night because you don't have all the stars and most of the scrubs aren't that inexpensive. But there is still plenty of value in the sense that I still think it's gonna be a high scoring night.
Yeah, AT said Laffy looks like a new COVID variant called flu Rona has emerged. First case detected in Israel. I saw that, man. Look, quite frankly, I pay it no mind. And I don't say that to just brush it off like that, but like flu Rona, Adam, if I get the flu and the coronavirus at the same time, I'm screwed anyway. I can't spend time worrying about this anymore. You know what I mean? Flu Rona.
Yeah. I actually thought that was a joke. I hadn't seen it.
No, it's real. Oh, it's real. The next is going to be like flu Rona Ebola. It's like you have Ebola and the gotta live, man. I can't.
That'll at least end the spread.
Yeah.
Once you mix in some Ebola,
that'll end us. Do you not remember that Ebola scare back like 8-7 years ago? That was horrifying.
I don't really remember that. I remember reading the book, like what was it, the Hot Zone or something. I had to read in like high school.
Well, there was one, and I'm pretty laid back about most of the stuff. Although I was like, I had some shit going on when COVID first hit. Before it came to the US, man, you should have seen my basement. I stocked up because you never know what's going to happen. But then I settled down a little bit, found my equilibrium. But when that Ebola hit, The problem with Ebola is it doesn't spread as quickly, but if you get it, you're not just like, you don't have a pretty high chance of living. You're in trouble.
Right. Yeah. It stops the spread. It kills everybody quickly and then you're done.
Right. Right. You're right. You wouldn't get it twice.
Yeah.
That's the good thing. Anyway, let's dive into this then. We got Memphis and Cleveland up first.
Somebody just said I look 46. I don't think I've been told I look older than my age once in my life by anybody.
Yeah, 46 is a stretch. I'd say 30, 32.
I'll be 32 tomorrow.
Look at that. Oh, man, I'm good. Happy early birthday, man.
Yeah, thanks.
Be 32 tomorrow. 1/5/2022. Okay. Memphis and Cleveland. I can't believe you even mentioned that on the screen right now that someone told you look like you were 40. Who said 46?
I don't know. I already lost it.
Yeah, me too.
It just caught my attention because, like, literally my entire life I've looked younger than I am.
Here's a good one. Kingsley says Laffy is fool. LOL. Yeah. Well, I've been told worse, fella. Memphis and Cleveland. The Memphis Grizzlies playing in Cleveland. They got Darius Garland back, so that's good. I mean, they were depleted. They already lost Ricky Rubio for the year. Brought on the reinforcements, bringing in the troops with Rajon Rondo, though, who's also, in COVID-19 protocol. But Memphis down with down Dylan Brooks, down Anthony Melton, and Kyle Anderson. All three of them out today. 3-point dogs, 215.5 total. So, I mean, as of now, this game should be pretty competitive, Adam. What are you doing with the top options, starting with John Morant? Because, like you said, from a stars and scrubs standpoint, we'll see if Randall plays. DeJounte Murray's out. So you've got guys like Westbrook and LeBron James, Domantas Sabonis, John Morant. None of the guys you're usually playing a ton of in that high price range. So does Morant settle into the equation today?
Yeah, I like Morant in tournaments in particular. I think that the matchup is kind of scary. I mean, Cleveland has Mobley back. They have Allen back. So that defense should be, at least a little bit better. Obviously, their backcourt is still depleted without Rubio and Sexton. But I think, the keys to their defense being Mobley and Allen, it makes them a little bit, imposing. But Morant, in the games he's played without Dylan Brooks this year, still has a 33.5% usage rate, 35.5% assist percentage. You're typically getting 34 to 36 minutes from him. He's got a really, really high ceiling, and we've seen that the last couple of games. Right now on DraftKings, he's only projected for about 13% ownership, has about a 13% chance of being optimal. So I still think the ceiling you get from Morant is legitimate here.
I think so too. I like John Morant quite a bit, especially being down Dylan Brooks, down some key players in this offense. Are you surprised at all to see how well Desmond Bane has played this year?
Yeah, I am. Someone in chat said, "Why the fuck did they have Cleveland winning? Like, we make the lines here."
I was gonna mention that. Like, you and I talked before the game, and we're like, "Who do you got?" Okay, by how much? Cleveland, 3 points. All right, there it is. Cleveland -3 today. Jordan, throw it on the board. Come on, man. And to be fair, Vegas doesn't have Cleveland winning. It's I don't have time to get into how line setting works, Adam, but I don't know. Do you have Cleveland winning?
And actually, I mean, yeah, Cleveland should be favored here too. But
Yeah,
that's beside the point.
Cleveland's not a bad team. Quality defensive team. They got Garland back. But anyway, look, you're getting me off track here. Let me get off track myself. Don't do it for me. With Desmond Bane, serious question here. Like, the guy has played well above expectations. There's no denying that. And now he actually, almost at a 7K price point, continuously pulls ownership because he's been damn productive. He's getting big minutes. He's a +1 per minute fantasy producer. I mean, you're getting the production out of him that you're looking for. Solid scoring, not elite peripherals, but decent enough rebounding totals and stock totals to keep you afloat if he doesn't have the best scoring game. What do you like, or what are you doing with him tonight on a 5-gamer?
Yeah, I mean, I think he looks decent. He's got a 24% usage rate in the games with Morant and without Brooks. Not a lot in the way of peripherals, 12% assist percentage, 7.5% rebounding percentage, but he's also likely to play 36 minutes or so. So, you kind of, the ceiling is certainly still there. I think it was last game that you saw him just go out and have a massive game. The floor is also relatively low because he's not really doing anything except scoring. He's been efficient enough this year where typically he's gonna he's gonna get there. But I think the price tag on him in this spot is pretty much where it should be. He's getting the ownership he deserves at about 17%, 18% chance of being in the optimal lineup.
What do you think about the rest of Memphis, where you've got Brandon Clark, Jaren Jackson Jr., all of these guys getting a little bit of love today? Nothing crazy on a 5-gamer, but all of them, you'll see them in some, you're going to see them pop up in some lineups.
Yeah, I think that so Jackson's kind of interesting. He's 6,400. We have him projected to be a little bit under-owned, 13% ownership, 16% chance of being in the optimal. The biggest concern I have with Jaren Jackson isn't even his fouls. It's that even in games where he's not in foul trouble, they haven't really been running him into the ground. And we saw this early in the season where even if you just looked at his rotations, it was like, okay, when he's not in foul trouble, he's still playing like 30 minutes. And then there's going to be games where if he is in foul trouble, he obviously plays a lot less. Last game, he didn't deal with foul trouble. He still played like 24 minutes and wasn't in the closing lineup with them missing half their team. Now you have a big Cleveland team here, which I think plays to Jackson's advantage in terms of his chances of being on the floor. So I still think that on average, you're getting 29 to 30 minutes. And we know that, he's a high upside guy, but I am just a little concerned about, it seems like there's a little bit of added volatility where normally you kind of just have to deal with his fouling and, whether or not he plays well. Now it seems like there's kind of that third variable of like, how many minutes are they even going to give him? But at the same time, if he plays well, I assume he's getting more minutes. So that's always kind of appealing in tournaments. Beyond him, looking kind of to, like value pieces, Steven Adams, I think is okay, but there's a lot of better centers. Tyus Jones had a really good game last time out. And 2 games ago, he played a bunch of minutes alongside John Morant. So I know it got me this morning, and I think it may catch some other people also, but he only played about 18 minutes last game. So even though he had a good fantasy game, it isn't making me really confident in his playing time tonight, especially when you talk about a big Cleveland team where I think it's more likely that you get some additional minutes for like Tilly if he can avoid foul trouble. We already talked about Jackson maybe playing a little bit more. So Jones is cheap enough where if you're playing 150 lineups, I think you can take a shot, but I'm a little concerned about his playing time. Whereas Brandon Clark has been playing, yesterday played about 3.5 minutes alongside Adams. I think that it's likely you get that same thing here, but you could potentially get more against a big Cleveland team, even though Memphis has mostly just had Clark as Adams' backup.
On Cleveland, if you look at OddsShopper, our highest XROI bet for the Cleveland Cavaliers is Kevin Love. And Jordan, my fault, I forgot to put this one in there, is Kevin Love under 18.5 points. DraftKings has that at even money, as a matter of fact. And shout out to Kevin Love, man. This guy, I think people just kind of thought he was dead, but he's been exhumed from the ground, Adam. Actually, a solid, like from a per minute basis, Kevin Love's been awesome. If this guy was playing 30 minutes per game, he might be a 9K player, maybe more with how he's performed. But he has produced a lot of points, real points and fantasy points lately, not to mention I was talking about his minutes per game on the season, but he's playing big minutes lately as well. What do we make of Kevin Love today against Memphis?
Yeah, so I'm interested to see what Love's rotation looks like, assuming that Garland is back. Obviously, they don't play the same position, but for most of the season, Love has been playing 24 minutes or so, backing up Jared Allen, backing up Evan Mobley. You've gotten more playing time recently, even when Jared Allen came back. And I think that was something that I expected because somebody on this team has to shoot. And so especially with Garland out, I just had a hard time believing that they weren't going to put their 3 best active players on the floor and that they were going to say, okay, well, we don't want to move Evan Mobley to the 3. We're just going to refuse to play Kevin Love more than 24 minutes. With Garland back, I still think there's a good chance you get 26 to 28 minutes from Love, but I think it's a little bit less necessary because at least you have another, true scorer on the floor. You don't have to ask Evan Mobley to go in and have a 25 to 30% usage rate. So I'm still interested in Love, but I do think he's a little bit riskier now that Garland's back because 1, the rotations change, and 2, you do have one other guy that you have to compete with for usage.
Eric Trump. Then okay, so if that is the case, then we kind of like this under 18.5. All right. I mean, we got him projected at 17, so it's not that far off. 61% expected win rate over at OddsShopper. But yeah, for the Cavs, he's the highest XROI guy that we have. Eric had a very epic troll here. He said, just jumping in, why does Adam look so old today? Clearly, he is not just jumping in, and he's been holding that comment. But I mean, that's pretty good.
So somebody said that Tyus Jones was going to play more minutes, except Brooklyn closed the gap, so they went back to the starters. That's kind of the point. You're not expecting John Morant to not be in the closing lineup. They could have left Tyus Jones in when they brought Morant in. That's what they had done the previous game. Jones had closed both halves alongside Morant. He didn't do that this game. So, Tyus Jones would have played more minutes if the game had been a blowout, but that means Morant would have played less.
For sure. So, where's ownership outside? So, I wanted to pull something up here, see if we got an update. Love is getting some ownership. Evan Mobley's getting the most on Cleveland right now. If you're just looking at our ownership projections for DraftKings, he's 7,100, power forward and center eligibility. And obviously that plays a pretty significant role when you're looking at these guys and they have that multi-position eligibility. But like you also said, you had Jared Allen back in the mix. You have Kevin Love. How much do you worry about just like cannibalizing peripheral stats when it comes to Evan Mobley?
Not too much, because that's kind of been his thing all year. Like, you're going to get defensive stats. You're going to get some rebounding. I think that there's a good chance that the increased usage we've seen in the last couple of games comes back down to earth. As you're getting Darius Garland, we assume, playing since he's not on the injury report. But I still think that at 7,100, he's reasonable. Like, you could put Garland in, you can put Rubio in, you can bring Sexton back, and $7,100 Mobley is still a reasonable option here.
Anybody else you like for Cleveland today?
I kind of like whoever starts along. So I'm assuming Garland comes back. He's not on the injury report. I haven't seen it confirmed that he's in, but he's not on the injury report.
Yeah,
so assuming he's going to take one
of,
what'd you say?
I think he's in. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He's not on the injury report, but I haven't seen like any specific Darius Garland will play type stuff.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So assuming Garland is back, you still have to replace Okoro in the starting lineup. Last game, they started the second half after Okoro got hurt with Pangos and with Goodwin. If they were to start, like Goodwin or Pangos alongside Garland, that they would both look reasonable at sub 4K. But what I'm interested in is I think there's a chance that you could get Lamar Stevens or you could get Dylan Windler, who was inactive last game but is probable tonight. Windler's 3K flat, Stevenson's 3,300. Neither one's a great fantasy producer, but as you were alluding to at the top of the show, there's good value today, but there's not a lot of good, like sub $3,500 value. So if whoever is starting in the Isaac Okoro spot isn't getting much ownership, I am interested in them just because there's obviously minutes available, and we really just don't know how this rotation is going to go. When I talked about it a little bit on my tournament video earlier, it's not that I strongly, prefer any of Stevens or Pangos or Goodwin or Windler. It's that nobody knows how the rotation is going to go because we haven't seen it. So what typically happens is either everybody just gets ignored and they're all low owned, or the field as a whole decides, this player is the one that is going to get all the minutes when really they have no idea. And there's still a lot of volatility there. So in tournaments, I'm interested in just whoever starts as the fifth guy here.
Okay. Just trying to keep an eye on news as anything comes in. Oh, that's interesting. First for the Utah Jazz this season, Joe Ingles has entered COVID protocol. Not that it matters, but we were talking about this at the top of the show. Have they not had a single have the original spreaders of COVID-19 in the NBA not had a single case all year?
That's crazy. Gobert must be taking it, being really cautious.
Yeah. Oh man. That was, you remember him and Mitch? Like apparently Mitchell they were not happy with each other. That was a real thing.
I remember there being talk that like one of them had to go before the season restarted.
Yeah, because Mitchell was the first one to get it outside of Gobert, after Gobert.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, man. What a shit show that was. I still remember leaving hockey. It was a Wednesday night. I'm leaving my hockey game and looking down, and every game had been canceled. Did any games play that Wednesday? I feel like they played a couple played, and then they canceled all the night games, right?
Yeah, the Gobert game was the last game of the night. And
yeah, that's right. Yeah, I think it was Denver, Utah or something. Yeah, you're right. And then they cancel everything the next day. Hey, Brax, thanks for the super chat. He says, is Brandon Clark a sneaky value at center? Well, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I talked about him. I think he's a good play. I'd obviously prefer him at power forward. The opportunity cost is lower, but I think that it's likely you get 24 minutes or so from him anyway. I think that's even more locked in if Zaire Williams ends up being out. He's questionable right now. But against this bigger front court, I think that there's a pretty good chance you're getting 4 to 6 minutes of Clark alongside Adams. And then also to double back, somebody asked about Jarrett Culver. If Zaire Williams is out in particular, I expect Culver to be in the rotation. I think that at 3K, he certainly has a path to success. The one thing I'd be concerned about, you don't want to look at last game and see how many minutes he played and think that that is likely to happen again. He played 30 and a half minutes last night because Killian Tilly started and was just in foul trouble right out of the gate and never stopped being in foul trouble. So like if Tilly avoids foul trouble, you could easily see, 26 minutes for Tilly, 22 for Culver or something like that.
All right. San Antonio, Toronto. Let's talk about this one. You got the Spurs coming into this game against the Raptors with still no DeJounte Murray, no Lonnie Walker, no Doug McDermott. With DeJounte Murray, who's just able to contribute across the board, right? Like solid usage rate, quality facilitating guard, well above average rebounder at the point guard position. I mean, the guy's averaging almost 18, 8.5, and 9, essentially, and 2 steals per game. Just a contributor in almost every statistic. When you take him off the floor, Adam, and granted, he's been out for a while and he's ruled out today, not for still being on the COVID-19 list, but because he's out for conditioning. Is anybody still not price adjusted correctly enough to where we can say, hey, DeJounte Murray's absence still makes a difference tonight?
I think it's the case for Derek White still, just because he can get more minutes. The rates the usage hasn't really changed too much, but you do get a nice bump in assist percentage. He's at 32.6% in 394 minutes without Murray on the floor this year. In the couple of games he's played without Murray, he's at like 47%. So White still looks good. And then the guy I mentioned this morning that I think, it's kind of counterintuitive to think of him as benefiting because of Murray being out. But Jakob Poeltl sees his rates increase in every category without Murray on the floor. And when you think about it a little bit more, it makes sense because Murray's, 25 to 26% usage guy. So there is some usage to go around, but he's also a very good rebounding guard and he gets a lot of assists. Poeltl clearly benefits from, less rebounders being on the floor with him, but he's also not a bad passer. So you kind of just see his rates across the board go up a couple of points, both in the games he's played without Murray and in just his overall sample size. Without Murray on the floor this season, he's played 225 minutes, usage rates at 21%, rebounding percentage at 16.5, assist percentage at 17.5. He's only 6,100. I think he still looks really good here.
Yeah, I think that's a solid enough option as well. For the rest of the San Antonio Spurs, you've got 6 of them right now, at least pulling double-digit ownership, which obviously on a 5-game slate doesn't mean as much. But what do you make of Jakob Poeltl or Trey Jones? Trey Jones right now? Because you only talked about Derek White, right? Just want to make
Jakob
sure.
Poeltl.
And Poeltl. So I was reading chat here, trying to juggle things over on Odd Shopper as well, trying to build a parlay from the parlay builder. Trey Jones is projected at 25%, $3,800. So like you just said on the last game, not a lot of value opening up, but this is one guy that seems to be pulling quite a bit of it to get in some of those high-priced options.
Yeah, we need a San Antonio starting lineup because Trey Jones started the last game, but Keita Bates-Diop was out in addition to McDermott and Lonnie Walker. Keita Bates-Diop is available tonight. He had been sliding into the starting lineup when McDermott was out previously. So you could just get a starting lineup where it's Jones alongside Derek White with Keldon Johnson, Jakob Poeltl, and then one of Vassell or Keita Bates-Diop. But I think there's also a good chance that the lineup becomes Derek White, Vassell, Johnson, Keita, and Poeltl, in which case I think that Jones probably plays like 24 minutes off the bench, which at 3,800 on this slate is still a spot you can take some shots at, but clearly he wouldn't be nearly as popular. So basically the way I see it is if he's not starting, he's a risky, probably low-owned option that still has some upside because there's still minutes available. If he is starting, he's going to be really popular, but he looks like absolutely one of the best values on this slate.
Okay. What would you give him in terms of minutes? He played 32 last game.
If he starts, I go to like 30. If he comes off the bench, I think it's like 24.
Okay. And if he does come off the bench, would you have any interest given that his ownership would plummet?
Yeah, I still think it's, it's more of a 150 max play, assuming the ownership comes down a lot because, like if Ketabase Diop starts, you could still get a closing lineup where Jones closes, for example.
Right.
So there's still a path to him getting a good amount of minutes. It just becomes less likely.
Anything else you like for the Spurs?
Devin Vassell at 4,400. Again, I'm assuming he starts. If he comes off the bench, he's riskier, but still looks pretty good. But he's about a 0.88 fantasy point per minute guy this year. Played like 34 to 36 minutes in regulation last game. He just looks like a good value. And then also Bryn Forbes at 3,900 coming off the bench, but he's around a 0.85 fantasy point per minute guy. He's also someone that, if he gets hot, could find his way into the closing lineup. And then finally, if you need a really cheap play and you don't have Jakob Poeltl, Jock Landale should play 16, 17 minutes and get you, he projects like 18 fantasy points, but obviously could get more if Poeltl's in foul trouble or he plays well.
Garland is playing, by the way.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything on his minutes.
Me neither. That's a weird one when you're coming off the COVID-19 list, right? I mean,
yeah, for the most part, the way I've been treating it, and it's worked against me a couple of times, but for the most part, it's worked out, is when guys come back and start and they either didn't miss any time or they already went through the, out for conditioning. They're typically coming back and playing a lot. It's the guys that come back, don't miss a game for conditioning, and then like come off the bench or something where it's kind of been problematic. But if Garland starts, I think that, I would assume he's playing 34 to 35 minutes, somewhere in there. I don't care all that much at 9,400. Like I would still rather play John Morant on the other side of that game. But if he's starting, I'm assuming he's playing at least close to full minutes, unless we hear otherwise.
One of the biggest problems too is you don't have any idea whether these guys are symptomatic unless they say something.
Right. And by the way, News God just messaged
I got that. The dreaded monitor minutes.
Yeah. Bickerstaff said that the team will monitor Garland's minutes, but he won't necessarily be on a minutes restriction. So that's basically what I was saying. If he goes out there and he can't give you 36 minutes, he's not going to play 36. But assuming that it's just a situation where it's, all right, well, maybe this isn't quite as easy as it normally is, but I'm perfectly fine. Like he's going to just play his normal run, I would think.
Right. Good looking out, News God. Appreciate you. Whenever someone says they'll monitor minutes, that basically means I'm going to watch them. And if they look fine, they play as many minutes as they need.
Right.
But we don't know. So we'll pay attention to it, see if anything else emerges. But as of now, I think you just have to assume that Darius Garland's going to play his normal allotment of minutes.
Yeah, I kind of just think of it as coaches are monitoring everyone's minutes. Like if they sprain their ankle, they get taken out.
Scott Brooks used that for everybody. He'd monitor Bradley Beal's minutes every game, and then he'd play 42.
Yeah, I think him with John Wall back like years ago was kind of the first instance where we didn't really know how to treat it. It'd be like, oh, Wall was out for a week, I'm going to monitor his minutes, and then it's like, oh, John Wall played 38 minutes. Cool.
Exactly. Anything else you like from San Antonio before we talk about the Raptors?
No, I pretty much think the entire team's in play. I just like the starters the most.
Okay. Talk to me about Toronto then, starting with Pascal Siakam at 8,700.
Yeah, this is one of those teams that you were talking about at the beginning where it's going to get tough to prioritize them because you have like the whole team coming back. I still think that there are some decent tournament spots. They're actually projected for a little bit more ownership than I expected, but Pascal Siakam projected for 20% on DraftKings with about a 20% chance of being optimal. The only thing not to like about him is that he's a center, but he's only 8,700. It's likely that he's playing 37 or 38 minutes here. So he looks good. And then Fred VanVleet at 9K, also getting some ownership. He's someone that I was hoping would kind of go under the radar, but projected for 18% ownership. No real reason to think he's not playing his normal 38, 39 minutes that he normally does. He played like 30 minutes in 3 quarters last game. He had played 19 in the first half. So those two stand out, I think, as the top 2 options on Toronto. It is a nice spot against the fast-paced San Antonio team. Then Scotty Barnes, OG, Gary Trent, they're all okay. Like if you're playing 150 lineups and they get into some, that's fine. They're not guys that I would anticipate making their way into like a 3 max lineup for me.
How about that dude that sent us the screenshot of that ticket that he had with Cleveland beating Toronto by 35.5. So it was minus 35 and then Spurs minus 35.5. and he got Cleveland over Toronto the day after Christmas. And then he had Spurs laying 35.5 and got 35. I don't think you and I talked about it on the show yesterday, but it just made me think, but talking about Toronto right now, I mean, that's one of the worst things that could ever happen to a human.
Yeah, that was awful. Like,
I think it was 100 into what, like 40,000 or something.
Yeah. So like, it's one thing when like all you're doing is, like just annoying your friends, being like, oh, I told you that, I was going to win this bet. But like the fact that it also cost you $40,000.
The hook cost him $40,000.
Right.
1 point. Crazy, man. Anything else for Toronto, or should we keep it rolling here?
That's it for Toronto for me. I don't see enough minutes going to Boucher, Achua, Birch. You're back to just the typical Nick Nurse running the starters into the ground rotation.
Yep, which can be a good thing for the starters.
Yeah, somebody in chat said the DFS will be so much better when Pop is gone. And I said that I was fine with Pop, just get rid of Kidd. Really what I would just like to happen is every coach be Nick Nurse, like trained.
The only problem would be you'd never get any value options.
That is true.
Like it would just be minimum salary turns to $6K because even if you're not good, you're getting 40 minutes a game.
Right.
Crazy. But yeah, it is weird. The way Nick Nurse does things at least gives you a decent amount of certainty that if you're playing this guy, barring an injury or foul trouble or a huge blowout, they're going to get the minutes. And I like that. I like feeling secure in the players that I'm throwing into my lineups. Not that it works, but it's a good feeling prior to lock. Anyway, we got 2 down, 3 to go. Be sure to stick around after this show as well. You got Eric Lindquist and Greg Ehrenberg coming up live before lock. And you got the 30-minute Jock Market after show, which is exactly what I'm going to tell you about right now. Jock Market, sponsor of the Deeper Dive. They've turned fantasy sports into a stock exchange where you can make money every minute, every hour, down to the second. How about that? You can buy and sell shares of players in real time for real money. And if you use the promo code Awesemo, AWESEMO, get up to $50 deposit bonus or match deposit bonus on your first deposit. You can download the app. It's JOCKMKT and get started. They got markets for football, basketball, hockey, PGA, you name it. But here's the kicker, right? Very cool platform, cool app where you're buying, selling, holding shares of players in real time. But if you have a pregame IPO period as well, where you can pick up shares of your favorite players, you can hold them, you can buy more throughout the day, you can sell them based on your analysis that you're doing throughout the day. Maybe you're watching the NBA strategy show, Josh's contenders, Alex's tournament Adam's tournament strategy, whatever it is, the injury report, and you see an opportunity to grab somebody. There's a lot of different ways to take advantage and find an edge there. Not to mention that we have a free Jock Market IPO projections tool at Awesemo that you can use. So check it out, download the app, and remember as well, they have a first market guarantee there, which means that they will refund you. Jock Market will refund you any losses up to $100 on your first NFL or NBA markets when you play there. So get your $50 bonus using the promo code Awesemo and take advantage of that first market guarantee as well. Jock Market, JOCKMKT, sponsor of the Deeper Dive. All right, let's talk about the Pacers here. This is one team that has been dealing with some guys sidelined right now. Adam, Karis LeVert, Malcolm Brogdon, Duarte's out, Jeremy Lamb is out, Batadze's out for whatever that matters. But still, just a lot of guys right now that are sidelined for the Pacers who on the road against the Knicks are 3-point dogs and a nasty 207 total in this one.
Yeah, pretty ugly game, 102 implied total for Indiana. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of good plays here just because they're one of the only teams on the slate that is still really, really shorthanded and the prices haven't really adjusted. So you have Domantas Sabonis at 9,900 on DraftKings. He's someone that Josh and I talked about a bit this morning, that it was kind of surprising his rates hadn't adjusted more when he played without LeVert, when he has played without LeVert and Brogdon so far this season. But what I think the actual answer is TJ McConnell as well. Sabonis has played a similar number of minutes with McConnell on and LeVert and Brogdon off as he has with all three of them off. The usage rate jumps from like 21% to 24%. His assist percentage goes from like 17% to 28% when you take McConnell off. And I think that just makes sense, especially because I know you and I had talked about it at the very beginning of the season. It seemed like Carlisle's really been prioritizing having the offense run through his point guards. And if you take them all away, finally you get some Sabonis opportunities. He led the team with 17 potential assists last game. He, I think, is finally back to kind of playing that role that he did, kind of just naturally did last year. And he should play 38 to 40 minutes here. So even though the pace of this game sucks and the total isn't very appealing, Sabonis still looks good at 9,900. You're likely to get a lot of minutes from Miles Turner. He played about 37 last game. On average, I'd expect him to play 34 or 35. He sees a usage bump without those guys as well. He's going to get around 40% of his minutes without Sabonis on the floor too. In those minutes, the assist percentage jumps a little bit, nowhere near the Sabonis levels, but he sees a little bit of a bump there. And then you get two of, I think, the better value options tonight with Dwayne Washington Jr. and Kiefer Sykes. We don't have much of a sample size on these guys, but if you go back and you include the preseason, they both get up to around 100 minutes this year. Washington's at 0.81 DraftKings points per minute. Sykes is at 0.54. We did get Sykes as Sykes with the second most potential assists last game. So I still think at 3,500, he's a reasonable value. He played 34 minutes. You could certainly see those disappear if the rotation just changes up a little bit. Craig plays a little bit more, Brissett plays a little bit more, whatever. It's not like Justin Holiday can't play the two with Washington at the one, but I think that it's still pretty likely you're getting around 30 minutes from Sykes. And then Washington played 34 minutes last game. He actually dealt with a little bit of foul trouble early in the third, or he probably would have played more. He's the higher usage guy of the two, doesn't offer the same assist upside, but he's only 4K. So, projects a little bit better. He's been the better per minute guy all season long. Justin Holiday should play a ton of minutes. He's not a very good fantasy option. So out of the starters, I think he's the most difficult to get to.
Nick says, you never win big money feeling good about a lineup. LOL, idiot. Every winner you look at the lineup, like, how did that win? First of all, I was talking about feeling good about rotations and minutes. But yes, you are right, Nick. You want to go into every week looking at your lineups and saying, God, that is a pile of shit.
Normally when I win, I look at it and I'm like, yeah, those were all good plays.
Pretty good plays, yeah. I mean, look, I actually, to some extent, even though he called me an idiot, understand what he's saying in that, yeah, sometimes you have to get a low-owned player. And like with football, you see that all the time, right? And sometimes with basketball, but yeah, you're not actively trying to look at your lineup and go, oh, God, how could that ever win?
Yeah, and there's some slates like where that's specific to where, like it's a 2-gamer or something and everybody's on like all of the good plays. But in general, and especially in NBA where there's less volatility at least than other sports. Typically you shouldn't be looking at guys and saying, oh, I don't like them. You could say, I realize they're not the best option, but.
Don't you think that's a big, and by the way, he said he didn't call me an idiot. All right, Nick, I like you again.
I don't.
What?
I don't now. I like.
Why? What did Nick do to you?
Someone said you never like your lineups in MMA. That one I can agree with.
I don't play enough MMA to really know, but
MMA is just every single week it's me DMing like Josh or whoever and just saying like, oh, I have 40% of this massive underdog that I think is going to get murdered.
Really?
Yeah, because
but you think that's one thing though that you and I have talked about it so often in the past, but where there's a big difference between being contrarian and just being wildly irresponsible with your money.
Well, the thing with MMA is there's actual benefits to being.
I'm at basketball.
Oh yeah, basketball exactly. It goes back to the differences in sports. Like baseball and football, it's just harder to find actual bad plays. Basketball, it's pretty easy because projections are going to be pretty close to what is going to happen, and then MMA is just kind of off the charts because there's negative correlation with chalk and all of that. So on the scale of sports where you should be hating your lineups, NBA is at the bottom.
Right, and then with MMA again, I'm not versed in this, but even a dog can catch them or something and get a fluky win or just take it the distance, right? But in basketball, if you aren't on the floor, you cannot accrue fantasy points. That's the difference.
Right. And like the difference too is like in NBA, if I take like Justin Anderson from Indiana and he somehow does well, it doesn't mean that like the most popular player on the slate did horribly. Whereas in MMA,
Good
if you
point. Yeah.
take some big underdog and he just happens to get a first round knockout, like 60% of the field just lost.
That's a great point. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. One affects the other far more than it does in basketball. Yeah. Good point. Anyway, let's keep moving here. Hit that thumbs up to we're 285. I don't know. Maybe it's a stretch, but 500 will be solid. 15 to 300. I mean, whatever. Pity me. Get us 15 up there to 300 and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. Appreciate it. How far did we get with Indy? We were talking about Sabonis. Was there anybody else you wanted to hit on before we went to the Knicks?
The only thing I wanted to mention with Indy otherwise is that O'Shea Brissett and Torrey Craig, I don't really think I can get to based on the rotations they played last game. You got 22 minutes for Craig. You got 16 for Brissett. Brissett didn't play any minutes other than backing up Sabonis and Turner. It wouldn't be like super surprising if the rotations were just different and for whatever reason Brissett played like 24 tonight, but I just have a really hard time, getting there on this slate.
Okay. How about the Knicks? 3-point favorites here. I told you earlier I was trying to build a parlay here while all of these were still where they were using our parlay builder, which is sick, by the way. Seriously, check it out. You'll love it. If you're in a legal state, you're going to, by the way, so many other states opening up very, very shortly. Maryland's going to have some betting soon, man.
Yeah, that's what they keep saying.
Pretty exciting. But we'll you can sort by league, by whatever book it is, throw how much you're trying to wager in there, and then what type, whether it's like prop party, whether it's 10x, for all of the tournament players out there for DFS, those are the ways to go, the prop party and the 10x. But this one's 24 to 1 plus 24.56. And the one spot that stood out was we have the under. Well, one that we'll get to later is a good one, but the under on RJ Barrett points, Adam, we have him under 18.5, one of the highest expected ROIs on this slate. From a DFS standpoint, is there anything you want to do with Barrett today? And how much does Julius Randle's absence or being active, how much does that affect him?
Randle affects everything.
Wait, DeJounte Murray's playing now.
Wait, what?
God damn it. Why do they do this to us?
Tomorrow's when? Today's Tuesday.
My fault. Got me. I don't like that they do that.
It's really annoying. I knew what had happened to you because I'd already seen it happen in chat, and then Josh called everyone a moron, and then you fell for it.
Oh, well. All right, Josh, you can call me a moron. But I mean, give me some credit there. They always do that like an hour before lock. All right. Yeah. Anyway, couldn't they just wait? Could they wait till tomorrow morning and spare me the embarrassment? All right. What's up with the Julius Randle stuff here?
Yeah, so I mean, he affects a lot because if he comes back, for one, it just kind of kills Obi Toppin, who played 45 minutes last game. Like if Randle is out, you have Toppin at 5,200, probably playing huge minutes and looking like a good value, or very good value. If Randle is in, then pretty much all of that goes away. It's not even a situation where you can say, Toppin's still going to play 24 minutes or something, which he's going to play like 10. Most likely, assuming Randle's at full strength. So he completely just, either makes or breaks Obi Toppin. RJ Barrett would see a usage bump if Randle is out. You still don't have Kemba. You still don't have Rose. Someone needs to shoot the ball, and Barrett sees an uptick if Randle sits. So at 5,600, if Randle is out, I like Barrett. If Randle is in, you can still go to Barrett in tournaments, but it's not nearly as good a play, I don't think.
Super chat from Eric Herstein says, Ship My Money is the smartest mind in DFS NBA. Number 2 is Ship My Money. Well, that's a nice compliment to get.
Yeah, I appreciate that and totally agree.
Where else are we going with what's that?
Also the most humble.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very much so. Yeah. Right ahead of Alex Baker. Where else are we going with the Knicks, if anywhere?
So if Robinson is in, so if Mitchell Robinson or Nerlens Noel are in, I don't think the center position ends up really being anything I get to. If they're out, you're probably looking at a lot of minutes for $3,700 Taj Gibson with power forward eligibility. Outside of that, Quickly at 4,400 has a path to success here. I think that it's risky, but there's just enough ways for him to get there that at 4,400 I don't mind taking some shots. Burks, if he starts at 6,300, I think is fine. We did see him start the second half last game. He then immediately picked up his fourth foul and went back to the bench. But if that is a sign that he's going to join the starting lineup, we know earlier in the season he was playing 36 to 38 minutes, producing around a fantasy point per minute. And now he's only 6,300. So if he starts, he looks pretty good. Fournier is sort of just, I think at this point we know what you're getting with Fournier. He's going to be out there. He's reasonably priced at 5,100. He's probably going to play terribly. So a lot of moving pieces here. I guess to sum it up, whoever starts, if Obi Toppin, if Julius Randle is out, Obi Toppin looks great. If Julius Randle is in, I don't like a power forward. If all of the centers except Gibson are out, I like Gibson as a value play. If Robinson or Noel are in, I don't really like Gibson. If Burks is starting, I like Burks. If they're going back to McBride, I don't really see the need to go there.
All right. Mark says,
why would better if Randall's out.
Mark says, why would you not want next day info if you're betting parlays? First of all, player props are not coming out the night before, and game line's not coming out with a team playing their first of a back-to-back tonight. So it is wholly useless to me, at least for tonight.
We just got Robinson in.
Say it again.
Robinson in, Noel out.
Yeah.
Randall game time decision.
All right. Well, that doesn't help.
I'm just imagining Julius Randle like running wind sprints and like gasping for air, and Tibbs telling him he's good to go.
Listen, we'll limit you to 38 minutes tonight. You'll be fine. Michael, thanks for the free super chat. There you go, man. 2-month member. Good luck, everyone. Thanks, Michael. That's nice of you. We could circle back if we get any news on the Knicks. Otherwise, let's leave that to the live before lock crew. Phoenix and the New Orleans Pelicans. Let's move over to this one, Adam. You got Phoenix still laying 7 despite some injuries, 224.5 total. But yeah, you're missing DeAndre Ayton still. You're also missing JaVale McGee. So you're starting in backup center. And then you're missing Jay Crowder, Landry Shamet's out. Jesus. Any of these injuries spark some really good options today, whether it's FanDuel, DraftKings, Yahoo, doesn't matter. Or are we once again, because Chris Paul's 7,400, Payne's 4,600, Devin Booker's coming in at 88, but kick it off with Chris Paul.
Chris Paul's price is just wrong on DraftKings. 7,400. 7,400 makes no sense. He's around a 1.2 fantasy point per minute guy. He's likely to give you 34 minutes or so, unless it's a blowout, in which case he probably played pretty well anyway. So he looks completely mispriced. I think he's one of the better mid-range options tonight. Devin Booker at 8,800 is also a little bit underpriced. He looks like a very good option, likely to play a lot of minutes if this game's competitive. So those two, I think, just kind of look good regardless of anything else. But then from a value, or at least relatively inexpensive standpoint, Jalen Smith should be starting at center again. He has his work cut out for him with Joe Val on the other side, but if he gets 30 minutes or so, he looks like a good value that you can also play at power forward. He's averaged 1.1 DraftKings points per minute this year, so the production has certainly been there. Cameron Johnson's going to need to play 34 to 36 minutes probably at 5,200. At 5,200. He's not the best fantasy producer, but he's still 0.8 to 0.9 fantasy points per minute. Makes him look pretty good. Mikal Bridges at 4,800. Not typically someone I get to, but with Landry Shamet out, I think he could be one of the kind of maybe under the radar beneficiaries. We know that at times this year, Bridges has played upwards of 38 minutes in games. There is, Brandon Ingram on the other side for him to defend. And if you're not giving Shamet's minutes to some combination of Mikal Bridges and Cameron Payne, it means you're giving them to like Elfrid Payton and Ish Wainwright, which I cannot imagine is any sort of priority here. So it makes me think that you're getting a ton of minutes from Mikal Bridges, and it makes me think that Cameron Payne's playing time is more secure than normal as well.
Greg says, Laffy having a tough show. I don't know. This is one of my better ones, man. You see me last week? So, all right. The biggest question I have though, and you did touch on it, but just as far as the center rotation goes, what do you think it looks like today from a minute standpoint?
Assuming that Smith can avoid foul trouble or just getting embarrassed off the floor.
Sure, yeah.
30 to 32 for Smith, the rest for Biyombo.
Okay, so that's a good amount of minutes for Jalen Smith against this Pelicans front court. So, yeah, I don't know. He's been what? He's over a fantasy point per minute guy. He's played 29, 25, 27, 24 over the last 4 games. If he gets up into the 30s, is he not one of the best values on this slate?
Smith, I think so.
Yeah. Well,
especially
I'm only because he's only like, we're only projecting him at 17%. I'll see if we ran an update, but that's not that high for a 5-game slate for a center that could play 30 plus minutes and has been a north of 1 fantasy point per minute guy, you know?
Yeah, I agree. And it's not like it's a bad overall matchup against the Pels in terms of them being able to stop anybody from doing anything. It's just a little bit scary in that, Joval could certainly rack up some fouls. But yeah, I mean, right now we have Smith at 17%. We have him with a 17% chance of being in the optimal lineup. I'm not sure how many minutes we have him projected for. But yeah, I mean, I think Smith, especially being power forward eligible, I really like Smith.
For sure. Anybody else for Phoenix?
I mentioned Cameron Payne. I like him as a value option just because, he doesn't play a ton of minutes alongside Chris Paul, but I think Shamet being out does open up those potential minutes for him because there's just not really alternatives unless you're going to play a lot of Payton or Wainwright, which I just doubt that they are.
All right. Yeah, A+ said, "Where's Adam's gold chain?" Yeah, you haven't rocked the gold chain lately, huh?
I'm wearing it right now.
But you used to flash that shit. You used to have that out.
Yeah,
chest puffed out.
Once in a while.
All right. Maybe when you go to the bar tonight.
Yeah, maybe.
You going to the bar for your birthday? You doing anything for your birthday?
No, probably not.
No?
I'm supposed to go home this weekend, so can't really do anything.
Well, you just bought you just bought a car's worth of COVID tests. You should be fine.
Yeah, true.
All right. New Orleans. We were just talking about Jalen Smith and Joval. Joval is one of those guys that, this could be one of those matchups where he's just purely dominant. And he is expensive. I mean, rightfully so. Joval's having an excellent season. He's finally getting the playing time that he deserves. But you're not going to get really any ownership going to him at this salary. Because if you're playing Joval at 9,300, it means that you're sacrificing elsewhere. You're making concessions elsewhere, as our friend Matt Kajeski would say. So really at the top, it's guys like Josh Hart and Nickeil Alexander-Walker that are getting ownership. And even those guys aren't going to be chalky. New Orleans probably one of the lesser appealing teams as a whole on this slate compared to everybody else.
Yeah, I think so as well. You have a pretty good salary on DraftKings for Nickeil Alexander-Walker. The playing time is, hit or miss, and so is his production typically, but he's got around a 24 to 25% usage rate off the bench. You're likely to get 25 to 26 minutes from him at 4,100. So he looks like a decent option. Josh Hart, if he's going to play 36 or 37 minutes, just looks like a pretty strong option at the forward spots. Other than that, it's tough to get to a lot here. Ingram's not on the injury report, so assuming he's going to play, he's 9,600. Certainly has a high ceiling, but you are absolutely paying for it on a slate where there's a lot of guys that just produce better that aren't that popular and that are similarly priced. Valanciunas at 9,300, I think is fine. I do think he's a good pivot to Pascal Siakam. Like if you're getting to that center range, I don't think it's the easiest range to get to, but if you can pay 8,700 for Siakam and so is like 17 to 20% of the field, I don't really know why he's getting that much more ownership than Joval for 600 more. So I do think that's kind of a reasonable pivot spot. But and if you want to take some tournament flyers on Jackson Hayes at 3,400, that's fine. But the only things that I think are particularly easy or appealing to get to are Alexander Walker and Josh Hart.
Okay, we got one game to go. Let's induct a few people, Jordan, into the Hall of Fame. It's not every day. It's not every day that we have multiple, or every week that we have multiple Millie Maker winners rocking the Awesemo avatar in the same Hall of Fame page. So buckle your seatbelts, friends. If you want to get in on this, all you got to do is download the Awesemo profile pic at awesemo.com/avatar. Use it on DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo, wherever you want. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more and hit us up on Twitter at AwesemoHOF. Let us know you won. Screenshot that shit and win a free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum, $90 value. We'll put you in the Hall of Fame here. Get that love on Twitter as well. It's all good. All right. So Felix Castro, this made me happy, man, because we just started the fantasy football channel this season and doing best ball content. You see this, Adam? Awesemo Avatar took down the best ball Millie.
No, I had not seen that. That's awesome.
Pretty sick, right? Because those Millies are those best ball Millies are a long, drawn out sweat, and they take a lot of time. They take a lot of time, but yeah, Millie, Felix Castro.
That's sick. When I saw the screenshot post, I just thought it was still Alex's.
No, I know it's awesome. So thanks y'all for your knowledge and help. Congrats again, dude. That was amazing. He hit us with a nice super chat this morning too. So Felix, congrats, man. You see, you get the family in the picture. That's a feel-good story right there. And then Alex Baker taking down the Millie as well, just one day prior. So bang, bang, multiple Millies in the same week for the Awesemo crew. Trent said it may not be the Millie, but it's my third top finish in the past 2 weeks, up over 500. That's huge, man. Congrats. Fly through these. Kevin Nelson with a first and a third, close to taking down another Millie. Starts with the process, ends with the lock. Short Gamer TV. This, I don't know why we don't have all of this, because he hit the other day 100 and I think 20K in the same night. I don't know what to say. Thank you guys so much. 387,000 with the Awesemo Avatar in there. We're just a ridiculous week. Second of 1,900 for Jermaine Bacon. Can I get that free month? Well, it's not 5,000, but you do have the Avatar. I don't know. Maybe they'll hook you up. Hit us up. Support at awesemo.com. Our boy News God with a $350 win. First place in the piggy bank. And then two more here. What do we got? Dave DeRemer, another one. This guy just with the parlay builders. It's absurd. $50 in the 1271. Dave, congrats to you once again. And then Zoo at 2,200. It's getting closer at Awesemo HOF. Hopefully another Millie Maker winner in the future. Congrats to all you guys. Use that profile, use that awesemo.com/avatar. Get that avatar, use it everywhere. Hit us up at Awesemo HOF. Get your free month, get in the Hall of Fame, and we'll see you there very soon. All right, Adam, talk to me about Sacramento right now. They're without Rashawn Holmes, but they're otherwise pretty healthy.
Yeah, so they also are without Chimezie Metu as of like 30 minutes ago. So that's one thing just to keep an eye on in general is, are they going to lose more guys tonight? But Jones looks like one of the better value options filling in for Rashawn Holmes. He's likely to give you 28 to 30 minutes. He's actually been playing well lately too, producing at a high rate. It's a good matchup against the Lakers. This game should be really fast paced. So Jones, I think, is one of the better point per dollar values. De'Aaron Fox and Tyrese Halliburton are both pretty cheap, look like good options, even though they certainly cut into each other's usage a bit. Halliburton cuts into the assists somewhat. Fox takes usage away, but they're both just in an appealing game. They're both reasonably priced. Hield, Barnes, Bagley all look reasonable as well. Metu being out can have an impact on Bagley. You know, you've kind of been getting minute splits between those guys where you're getting like 26 to 28 for Bagley, somewhere in there, and then the rest going to Metu. Last game it was 16 or 15 for Metu, 20 for Bagley. You got some extra run. Mo Harkless played 6 minutes. But I think that with Metu being out, there's a pretty good chance that you get those upper 20 minutes from Bagley. We are still waiting on Terrence Davis news as well. If he's in, then you could just get a situation where Davis joins the rotation, takes those 16 minutes, and it goes back to, you know, Barnes also playing the 4 and all of that. But if Davis is out, I think it opens up more minutes for Bagley. It helps to solidify Hield's minutes, and it would also help to solidify Davion Mitchell at 3,300. So Davis is still a piece that, you know, we're waiting on. But if he's out, it just solidifies the playing time for all of these guys.
Okay, who would your top options be?
Jones, Halliburton, and Fox.
Okay. Someone asked too, is Bismack Biyombo a viable 3K punt to you?
I don't think so. I mean, I guess you could, but if I'm going the backup center route, I think I would still go with Jackson Hayes first. I'd go with Alex Len first. I think there was somebody. I'd go with Landale before him. I'd go with Jarrett Culver before him, especially if Zaire Williams is out.
All right. So two of the top price guys in this slate are both from the Lakers. LeBron, with no Anthony Davis still, is getting a lot of ownership. Matter of fact, the highest owned by a mile player on this slate. At this rate, it's hard to get away from LeBron James. All we needed was for one of those three players, Adam, to take a seat for an extended period of time, and we'd start to see the old LeBron, who's been purely dominant lately, going up against one of the worst defenses, play at a fast pace with the Kings. I mean, it's hard not to love LeBron on a night like tonight.
Yeah, for sure. He's up to 11 games this season with Anthony Davis inactive. He's averaged 1.73 DraftKings points per minute and
Ooh.
37 minutes per game. And it's a great spot, like you said. So the only real issue is, can you find enough savings to get there? But I don't think it's that difficult tonight. So LeBron looks great, and I think pretty clearly one of the top plays on the slate. Also back to having point guard and small forward eligibility on DraftKings, which makes him even easier to get into lineups.
What about the rest of the squad? We going to any Malik Monk or Carmelo Anthony or Russ?
Yeah, I think all three of them look pretty good. Russ 9K on FanDuel in particular stands out, even though that scoring system is absolutely terrible for him. But it's still a really good spot. He's still likely to give you 36, 37 minutes. He hasn't been nearly as productive as LeBron without Davis, but he's still at 1.25 DraftKings points per minute with a 29% usage rate, 33% assist percentage, and 13% rebounding percentage. Melo 5K. Stanley Johnson no longer with the team. It doesn't seem like it would be a big deal, but he's been starting. It opens up minutes for Melo. I don't know that Melo joins the starting lineup. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Talen Horton-Tucker. I wouldn't be surprised if it's Dwight Howard. But I think even if it's Howard, you could get something where, Howard plays like 18 to 20 minutes, Melo plays, 26 or something like that. If it's Horton-Tucker, if it's Horton-Tucker, I would assume Howard is still a DNP. So you're going to get backup center minutes for Melo. So I still think at 5K, Melo's worth taking a shot on. Horton-Tucker at 4,300 has been bad, but there could be some extra minutes for him without Stanley Johnson. And then if Howard does start, there's a chance you're getting 20 minutes at 4K against a really bad Sacramento team. So whoever you're going to from the Lakers outside of, I think, James, Westbrook, and Monk, the playing time is less than safe, and so is their production. But I do think in this matchup and with the absence of Johnson, there is the potential for guys to get a little bit more run than people are expecting.
All right. Top option, high priced from this slate. Obviously considering everything, including ownership and salary.
LeBron.
Yeah, it's still got to be LeBron, right? Who's your favorite value play?
So like talking cheap guys.
You say like 5K or lower. It doesn't have to be down there as a pure punt.
Yeah, I think it's any kind of, I guess, depending on what positions you need, Damian Jones, Dwayne Washington, or Brandon Clark. Clark also more confident in that if Zaire Williams is out, but I think he should be okay either way.
All right. Hey, stick around. Did we hit 500? Oh, yeah, we crushed it. 518. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it as always. I knew we would get there. Well, what do we got? 3,200 people watching. Stick around. It's Greg. It's Eric coming up next, taking you all the way up to 7 p.m. lock, followed by the Jock Market 30-minute after show. We'll teach you guys how to win over there as well. So don't go anywhere. Spend the rest of the night with them before you start sweating some NBA. Adam and I will catch you back here tomorrow on the Deeper Dive. Peace.
not even electricity.
Oh, there's that little like Spanish guitar kind of in the middle of the beat. Just like
Jordan's
Carlos
really been
Santana.
He's been upping his game lately. The beats he's been making are way different.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the kazoo like alt
Cowbell.
beat that cowbell. Always need more cowbell. That's a fact. Also a fact, we are live here. It is the NBA Live Before Lock show presented by Jock Market. Excited to be here Tuesday afternoon out here on the West Coast, Tuesday evening for all you East Coasters out there. Not in make-believe land like we are here in California with the Pacific time. But you know what? We're ready to talk some NBA. We got a nice 5-gamer. A lot of different pieces of news have come through that kind of changed the look of my lineup, should I say. But we've got a guy that's going to be helping us out, kind of wade through all the madness here. That is Greg Ehrenberg at G Ehrenberg DFS over on Twitter. My friend, how are you doing, sir?
Yeah, doing pretty good. I'm curious though, which piece of news are you referring to that's impacted your lineups the most?
Oh, well, I mean, Metu out, which sounds stupid, but I was doing a lot of weird stuff here. So I caught the tail end here of the Live Before Lock show there where they were talking about the rotations. Do you have any concerns about what that Sacramento lineup could look like if you have LeBron James starting at the 5?
Not really. I mean, the Kings suck. It's not like they're making, it's not like they're making overall adjustments to match up against LeBron James or anything like that. And, who else do they even have to play? That they have without Metu there, there's no Rashawn Holmes. I kind of think we have to expect there's going to be bigger minutes going to guys like Marvin Bagley and Damian Jones. So I think both of them are good value plays. I don't really think they have much other choice considering the injuries they have in the front court. That and Terrence Davis is questionable.
Yeah, that's my thing right now. I mean, I'm uncomfortable how much Marvin Bagley I have. He's like my biggest stand on this slate, and I don't think it's close. He's at 4,800 there in the late night hammer. I think that, we're going to have some exposure to LeBron, some of these other pieces from this late night hammer. I also like the Carmelo call. I think that there's paths to get some exposure to him if he ends up in the starting unit. I just think that the Lakers are pretty set. They've looked a lot better here of late with LeBron starting at the 5. I don't know why they would change that to match up with who? Damian Jones. And as much as I love Damian Jones, and he was a massive part of the portfolio a couple nights ago, I just think they continue to start LeBron at the 5. And that makes Marvin Bagley by far, I think, the guy that I see getting the most run from this event. I could see Damian Jones getting played off the floor very, very quickly in this spot.
I don't know. I agree with that. I think between Damian Jones and Marvin Bagley, you look at last game, for instance, they played against the Miami Heat and they were going up the absolute force that is Omer Yurtseven until he was bleeding everywhere. Although he ended up with a really big game. Yeah, I know you were totally tilting in our group chat when he first got cut early in the game, but he was fine, right? He ends up playing when it was like
missed the whole first quarter. He played like a minute and a half.
No. He came back in the first quarter. He finished with 22 points and 16 rebounds. He played 35 minutes. You were just fine there. But still, last game, we got only 20 minutes out of Marvin Bagley and 29 minutes out of Damian Jones. Now, obviously, Metu did play that game. He played limited minutes. He got hurt during the game. He plays 15 minutes. But I still look at the minutes distribution in that game and see 20 to Bagley and 29 to Damian Jones. I feel better about Jones's minutes than Bagley's.
Okay. I think Damian Jones probably gets the start no matter what. LeBron James starts at the 5. I still think Damian Jones gets out there. It's just a question of what Damian Jones does on the floor. I just don't know defensively if they have any choice. The other, I guess, underutilized aspect of talking about that is, does Sacramento care about winning a basketball game, period, right now? The answer is probably no. But, I guess there are guys that are coaching, trying to get positions elsewhere here for that team here. I can't imagine that there aren't guys on the Sacramento team that wouldn't want to get traded elsewhere, that wouldn't want bigger contracts. So I'm not saying the incentive isn't completely there. But I'm definitely looking at it as Marvin Bagley fits more of the system. Not that he can contain LeBron, because I don't think anybody can at the moment. This is absurd. But just thinking through those minutes, I just thought Metu out was kind of a bigger piece of news than what I thought the field might. So I'm kind of utilizing and doing some things. But let's get into it here from there, Greg. Smash that like button for all the guys that came on before us here. We're going to be around for 90 minutes here. Greg and I are, or I guess 85, because they did a great job of going a little bit over for us. Much appreciated by Loughran and Adam going over. But we're going to be talking Jock Market. Looking forward to that here later in the program. But position by position, let's just start at the guard spot like we always do. And LeBron, he's point guard, small forward there on DK. We'll talk about him at the forward spot. It's a little bit more applicable around the industry, but Trey Jones, Kiefer Sykes, just a normal day of Tuesday basketball. Your two most popular guards here on the slate. What are you doing with those value pieces of chalk, Greg?
Underweight to both of them. And it's not even to say that I don't understand why people are getting there. They're cheap. We're expecting to get some extended minutes from them, but I don't think it's totally necessary on this particular slate. We have LeBron James, who I don't find all that difficult to fit into lineups. Beyond him, are there any high-priced options you're dying to play today? The answer for me is no. So, I mean, my lineup construction is a little bit different than most of the field. I'm still getting to a lot of LeBron, but then I have other guys in the mid-range like Chris Paul, Devin Booker that I think are good plays, and I don't need to get to as much of the cheap guys as the field is getting to.
I want John Morant, 9,700 over on DK, looking over at FanDuel. Going to garner some attention. Call him a spend up. I mean, there's nobody else 10K other than Russell Westbrook on the DraftKings slate, and I don't find him to necessarily be a priority. Been definitely good from fantasy basketball aspect, 3 of the last 4. Obviously not against Minnesota here, but continuing to have a 40% usage he had in that game. He's not very good at real life basketball here at this point in time, but Russell Westbrook can definitely get there for you. Anytime you can get, this is something Ryan says all the time on the slate starter, but anytime you can get somebody pretty low on for what that upside is to be the number one scorer on a slate, you got to kind of factor that in. And I don't think anybody would deny that Russell Westbrook would have the ability to go for 60, 65 in any given matchup. But John Morant, I think since he's gotten back, has just been on an absolute tear once more. I love this man. I find him hard to want to get away from him. If he's going to be around 11% and people have sticker shock on DK at 9,700, he kind of becomes the spend up on DK that I'm really interested in getting to. But you're definitely right. There's no 10K. There's no Jokic, Embiid, Giannis kind of trio or anything like that we have to pay up for on this slate. So I'm with you here. If it's not going to be those value guards, which I'm with you, I definitely am lower on them as well. Where are you kind of landing for some of the more popular guards here on the slate? Where are you getting to in your lineups?
Yeah, so, and I still have Trey Jones in my player, but I'm just not quite as high on him as the field is. Same goes for Sykes, where it's, we look at the situation with the Indiana Pacers, and sure, they're shorthanded, and we're going to see extended minutes from guys like Kiefer Sykes and Dwayne Washington, but they could play Justin Anderson today. They could play Lance Stevenson a little bit more minutes, and I don't necessarily think we need to get massive minutes out of guys like Dwayne Washington and Kiefer Sykes. I was thinking, Torrey Craig get into playing a bigger role off the bench. So there's other ways I think we could go there. Let's see, where is the current ownership at? So Malik Monk, and I'm a little bummed out because I've been on Malik Monk for a while now this season, and the field is kind of getting there now. The price is up. I still project him really well. I've been projecting Malik Monk well for a really long time now, and he's been up and down. He's been streaky, but over the last stretch of games since moving into the starting lineup, 38, 23, 27, 30 DraftKings points for Malik Monk. We know he could score a lot of points in a hurry, and there's just not that much shot creation in the Lakers offense outside of LeBron James and whatever the hell Russell Westbrook is doing on a night-to-night basis. So I do like getting overweight to the field on Malik Monk, even though he is a little bit popular.
Yeah, 5,100's up, but I'm with you. Also, you can never go wrong by having late exposure. This game is an hour, 2.5 hours after the last other game here on the slate. And I think being able to mix and match into some lineups based on what you're doing, based on ownership, I never really hate having maybe 3 or 4 players from that game. And if you have lineups that are smashing, you can kind of play the chalk, play some of the best plays there. And if you need to make pivots, you also have the ability to react to whatever the starting lineups are. And you probably can't do it if you just have like 2 roster spots and one of them's LeBron, because there's no way you're getting off of LeBron. But if you have 3 or 4, I think it becomes a little bit more open to take some shots there. What are you doing with this Suns situation? We've got Chris Paul, 7,400. He's an absolute misprice on DK. On FanDuel, you've got an 8K Devin Booker. That's an obvious misprice. I mean, is it as simple as simply playing each one accordingly on those sites? Or are you doing anything specifically with them above or over the field?
Yeah, I don't understand why Chris Paul's only projected for 22% ownership on DraftKings. To me, that he should be one of the, if not the most rostered player on the entire slate. He's been really good this season, especially the assists have been massive for him this year. And so we've also seen that he's played a little bit better with Devin Booker this year. Last year at the start of the season, there was a pretty big negative correlation between Chris Paul and Devin Booker. but they have such different roles now, where Chris Paul has just not been a usage guy as much for them this season. We've seen a lot of his fantasy points come via assists and steals, whereas the scoring doesn't really cut as much into Devin Booker, and the assists are there. So even if Devin Booker has a big scoring game, it's not like that hurts Chris Paul as much. Chris Paul now leading the NBA in assists per game. I just don't get why his price has gone down so much, especially in this matchup against New Orleans Pelicans. Short of a blowout, I think he should get there pretty easily. He's my favorite play amongst guards for cash games and tournaments today.
I agree. I think he's an absolute smash over on DK 7,400. And I think Devin Booker is an absolute smash over on FanDuel. Looking at him, seeing 8K as opposed to Chris Paul, 7,800. Both of them are smashes there. But I think you do have Trey Jones, 4,100, a little bit more in play on that slate. On DK, where you only have the 8 roster spots, I don't know if I necessarily want to get to a ton of Trey Jones if he's going to be 25, 30, 35%. Plus, I don't know what that starting lineup's going to look like. I'm definitely waiting for that, no doubt about it. But I'm with you. Chris Paul and DK is an absolute smash. He should be more than that. I'm more than 50%. So I'm definitely there with you. 8,800 for Devin Booker. I'm not really getting to that 19% number over on DK as a result. Definitely needing to find some salary savings here. I want to talk to you about Fred VanVleet, because I was kind of expecting him to be unowned and I was going to jam him. I talked about him a long time last night on the Slate Starter podcast. Definitely check that out with your Rinpack here as well. But 31st comes out and plays 39 minutes right out of the gate against the Knicks. It was a blowout, so 31 minutes. I am massively overweight to Fred VanVleet on every site here on this slate. I just think when you have everybody active and healthy here, he's probably the one guy that I just feel the most secure is going to get 36, 38 minutes pretty much every time out in competitive games. The Spurs offer absolutely no resistance in that backcourt. Fred VanVleet at 9K, are you getting there on DraftKings?
Not really. I have Chris Paul projected for more fantasy points than him, and he's significantly less expensive. And then also you look at right here, like we were talking about Chris Paul, he's only projected for 22% ownership. So it's not like he's crazy popular. It's kind of comparable ownership to Fred VanVleet. We've got VanVleet projected for 16% ownership compared to 22% for Chris Paul. Then I consider that Chris Paul 7,400. I projected for more fantasy points than VanVleet at 9,000. And it's pretty hard for me to wrap my head around getting to any meaningful amount of Fred VanVleet in that kind of situation.
I understand. I mean, for me, I'm going to be a little bit shy. LeBron James has been a smash, but I need to find different ways to kind of mix up roster construction. I'm paying up a lot at guard. Fred VanVleet, Chris Paul's not really a quote unquote spend up. He's just really, really poorly priced, and I have a ton of them as a result. John Morant, discussed him for a second too. I will say, just looking at like the boom bust tool too, it just seems like all the positive leverage in the entire world on a guy like Alec Burks here from the Knicks. I don't really know what to make of this entire situation. Let's kind of jump over there from the guard position. I don't really know what to do with them. I feel like on a couple of these slates, I've really had to get that right. But are you getting to anything whatsoever from the Knicks front backcourt? Excuse me.
No, and we're starting to see these situations now where we had all the value in the world for a while, and we still do on some of these teams. You know, a lot of guys out for the Pacers. We've been talking about the Suns. The Suns have guys out. But the Knicks have the inverse situation where they're starting to get guys back now from COVID. So sure, Kemba Walker's out, Derrick Rose out, but that's kind of been priced in at this point. He's been out for a while. But now we've got RJ Barrett's healthy, Emmanuel Quickley's healthy, Miles McBride is back. So we have all these players that are a little bit priced up versus where they were a few weeks ago, and the Knicks are getting healthier. So this changes if Julius Randle's out. I'm assuming that Julius Randle plays because Mitchell Robinson is playing tonight. So I'm going to have to allocate some of that usage to other players on the Knicks if there is no Randle. But with my assumption being that he plays, everybody on the Knicks just looks a little bit overpriced in this spot.
Okay. Just wanted to double check on that. FanDuel, there's a little bit lower price tags you're paying for a guy like Emmanuel Quickley if you want to take those shots. It's just really hard, even on a 5-gamer, to want to get really invested in that spot. It's a pretty brutal game, 207 total. And the minutes, as you said, you can definitely see some kind of some diluted minutes here across that entire backcourt. Is there anything else that's... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, so yeah, I wanted to mention one other thing about the Knicks-Pacers game, and something else that has me not as high on the Pacers value plays as the field is. You mentioned right there, the total for that game is 207. And it's way lower than every other total on tonight's slate. And we have seen totals slowly start to creep up because the referees, I mentioned on a few shows as of late, they're changing how the game is being called, whereas the rules are kind of reverting back to what they've been in previous years, as opposed to the first month of the season where they were letting teams play a lot more physical and they weren't calling fouls as much. That's kind of a thing of the past at this point. That aside, the total of the Knicks game, 207, Knicks Pacers. The next lowest total today is Cleveland Memphis at 216. We've got the Lakers Kings game later, a total of 231. I just don't think there's going to be that many possessions in the Knicks Pacers game compared to some of these other games. So I like getting to Sabonis today. It's really not my favorite game to target.
Yeah, I'm with you. It's pretty gross. Pretty gross. I got 2 super chats here. They are both massive. One's 200 rubes or whatever. I don't know what it is. What's RUB?
Rubles. So that's our guy Ilya. He's our Russian friend.
I love that. Thank you so much to him. How much is that? Because that'll depend on how nice I am here.
It is 10 million Monopoly dollars.
Okay, 10 million Monopoly dollars. I feel like that's nice. You're very much appreciated. I'm just kind of joking. How many minutes do you expect from Marvin Bagley if Terrence Davis is ruled in? Now, this is kind of an indirect question because Terrence Davis, obviously a different position, but I don't know how many minutes Terrence Davis would come out and play here right off the bat. He's a guy who's dealing with a left ankle issue. This is not health and safety protocols. So him getting ruled in is different than somebody else that hasn't been in for a while and they get ruled in. But are you kind of factoring that in whatsoever? Is that going to affect your rotations for Sacramento?
I don't even know that Terrence Davis is going to play big minutes or minutes at all if he's ruled in. So I think that's something else to consider. Terrence Davis, the Kings have handled him so bizarrely this year. Remember, there was that brief stretch of time where Terrence Davis looks like one of their better players. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he's playing great. And not just from a real life perspective, fantasy perspective too. They just take him out of the starting lineup and then he falls out of the rotation altogether. So there was a point in time where he was healthy and was still a DNP coach's decision. So I'm not positive that Terrence Davis gets minutes. But to answer Ilya's question, I have Bagley for 28 minutes right now.
That was about $2.66 worth. Yeah, I would definitely agree. I like that. So much appreciated, Ilya. We appreciate you. And then, of course, it's just the guy, the man, the myth, the legend, Short Gamer TV. Drops a 50 spot. Good luck today, guys. Well, you don't need luck. My guy, you have all of it. Congratulations. Continue to smash. This is my 3rd NBA slate of the year. Welcome to the streets. Been focusing on NFL. Good idea. Any points or tips for this slate, Greg?
I mean, not anything that's specific to this slate as compared to other slates, which is just identify who some of your favorite points per dollar plays are, utilize some of the tools on the website, like the boom bust tool, to try to find out which players are either being under or over owned and build lineups that way. Like, I don't think there's anything, and I feel bad that I don't have a more specific answer because he did leave a pretty hefty super chat, but I don't think there's anything you need to really overthink as much as just build your lineups and play the guys you think are the best plays.
Yeah, head to the boom bust tool. Look at some positive leverage. Find some guys there. We've got Lamar Stevens, Trey Jones, Domantas Sabonis, Alec Burks, Damian Jones, Devin Booker, Devin Vassell. Again, use some of your analysis to kind of look at certain guys. Like I know Greg and I, as much as Trey Jones is just smashing in that, I think that that's assuming that he's in the starting lineup, which I'm definitely not assuming. If he is, I'm happy to get to a little bit and kind of be closer to the field on that. But right now in the tools, it looks like he's an absolute smash so long as he is starting. So those are the kind of things you kind of want to be looking out for. Also, just make sure you have the Discord notifications turned on from News God. He's hanging around the chat. Make sure you're up to date on news. Stuff happens all the time in NBA. If you've only played 3 slates, you probably don't understand how insane it's been the last couple of weeks. So be ready to react, know who kind of the backups are in certain spots, or if there's somebody like Terrence Davis that you might find Davion Mitchell maybe gets a couple extra minutes. Be aware of those type of scenarios, and best of luck to you, and congrats on just smashing. All right. Anything else?
One other thing. I'll say play LeBron James and Chris Paul. Those are my 2 most rostered players right now.
Ooh, what a hot take. I love it. I love LeBron James. I'm just going to be a little shy on him, specifically over on FanDuel, I think, where he's just coming in 45%, and maybe he should be. Maybe I should just be playing 100% of him every day, but I'm going to be 35-40% here in my lineups, and I feel okay with that. Not great, but I feel okay about it. Let's keep going. Desmond Bane, he's been shooting the absolute lights out of it here. He's getting close to 20%. That's a guy I've been playing a ton, and I do mean a ton. I'm probably not going to be getting there at 6,700. That tag has just continued to rise up. He's been 6,800 and 6,900. I guess down to 6,700 is a quote unquote discount, but John Morant back. I'm expecting some I'm expecting some regression shooting the ball here at some point for Desmond Bane, whereas before you were getting him low owned. There's some other guys down here at the bottom. Bryn Forbes is a guy that I'm trying to take shots on both sites. He can definitely spark an upside shooting it, and he's sub 11%. Another point of leverage, I think, just finding him is somebody where if he succeeds, more than likely Trey Jones fails. So stuff like that. Anybody else here at the guard position you want to talk on before we move to forward?
No, I think the shout out of Bryn Forbes makes sense. He played 35 minutes last game. Also keep in mind that game did go to overtime, so that inflated his minutes a little bit. Something else talking about some of these Spurs backcourt guys or just some of these wing guys in general, like Trey Jones, it's going to be really popular. Keita Bates-Diop is back tonight for the San Antonio Spurs. And is that massively significant? No, not really. But here's where it matters, at least for us a little bit for DFS. Keita Bates-Diop might start. Even if he doesn't start, he's going to play at least somewhat of a significant role. I think those minutes are going to come from a combination of a little less playing time to Devin Vassell, a little bit less to Trey Jones, a little bit less potentially to somebody like Bryn Forbes or some of the end of the bench guys. So one of the reasons I don't like Trey Jones quite as much as the field is just because I have to give some of those minutes to Keita Bates-Diop. And then also one other thing, remember, last game went to overtime. So you can't just look at all the Spurs guys from last game and say, these are the minutes they're going to play. Different situation.
All right, we got 2 pieces of news. I'm going to touch on those. Then we got 2 super chats. I'll touch on those. We'll talk a little Awesemo, and we'll move ourselves to forward. So first of all, we got the starting lineup here from Cleveland. I just lost it. It was just on my screen, but I know Lamar Stevens is in it. So enjoy that. How do you feel about Lamar Stevens now that he's officially starting here for Cleveland?
So I was actually already getting to him a lot. He's one of my favorite value plays on the slate for a couple of reasons. Number one, I already project him fairly well. I thought he was in line for increased minutes today. And then also he's sub 10% owned right now on DraftKings. And I'll have to refresh to see what the most recent number is, or, you know, what changes when we get ownership projection updates. But at least as of the last one, Lamar Stevens was projected for, it would help if I spelled his name correctly.
Lamar.
Yeah. Oh, here he is. So at 3,300, he was projected for 2% ownership on DraftKings. And on FanDuel, he was projected for 0.1% ownership. So I was looking at those numbers. They're like, okay, we've got the Cleveland Cavaliers a little bit shorthanded. I know they're getting Darius Garland back, but even so, we've got other guys for Cleveland, like Rondo still remains out. Chetty Osman's out. Isaac Okoro is out right now. So it seemed like Lamar Stevens could potentially be playing extended minutes. That and Kevin Pangos. He never really panned out as a starting point guard, but whatever, Garland's back now anyway. But last game, he played 32 minutes off the bench. And I just kind of figured we were going to see more of the same from Lamar Stevens. So I really liked him as a value play, and I assume more of the field is going to be getting there as well. We'll see where the ownership winds up, but I do think he's a really good pivot off of some of the more chalky value options.
Yeah, he's not a phenomenal fantasy point per minute producer, but again, 30 minutes is 30 minutes when you're 3,300 over on DK. Somebody on FanDuel as well, as you were saying, the boom bust tool, there was positive leverage. It's 19.6% optimal percentage, ownership 6.2%. That is going to come up. Unfortunately, it actually came up to 7.8% in the last run when I had refreshed before. It's about to go way, way up from there. So 30 minutes beforehand for lock of the slate. That's kind of a bummer, but I think you still can get there. I have no problem playing him. I think he's a really nice piece to throw into lineups that help you get to more LeBron. Might get a little bit more LeBron as a result, because again, for me, it was just simply looking at Trey Jones, looking at some of these other pieces. Hopefully Devin Vassell starts. We'll get to him here at forward here. The other piece of news, Julius Randle available to play. Jericho Sims also available to play, which sounds ridiculous, but I guess, you know, just having a backup to the backup to the backup, that makes some sense there. Nerlens Noel is out. So what do you feel about the Knicks? Because I feel like I'm just not going to get to this team whatsoever anymore.
Yeah, if I had to play one guy, it would be Julius Randle, just because he is the best overall fantasy producer on the team. He's coming back from COVID, but we've generally seen in the past that Tibbs has been more willing to play Julius Randle kind of in any kind of situation more than most other players. Still a little bit concerned because we have seen the majority of players come back from COVID and struggle a little bit with conditioning. If I had to roster one Nick, it would be Randle, but in general, it's one of my least favorite teams to target on the slate. By the way, getting back to what you said before, I don't think Vassell starts today.
Oh, you don't think Vassell? Okay. Well,
no,
I think Bates-Diop is the most likely guy that could ruin the party, but you know,
yeah, I think they're going to start Trey Jones, Derek White, Keldon Johnson, Bates-Diop, and Pirtle. Okay.
We shall see. Luckily we're not betting on that, but we do really enjoy getting those starting lineups right. Yeah, something tells me that sounds about right, but Vassell. My thing is Trey Jones just played so bad the other night, but whatever, such is life. Super chat galore. Guys, you guys are the absolute best. We appreciate you. Dean is thoughts on Jalen Smith? Have been locking him in with Ayton and McGee out. Still a lock with the price increase, Greg?
Let me read that question so I know.
Do you like Jalen Smith on this slate?
Do I like Jalen's marginally? I think the price is about fair to a little bit too low. So while I have some exposure to him, I was getting to him a lot more on some previous slates. So he's somebody who, I mean, I still look at him. I think he projects about similarly to me as guys like Marvin Bagley and Damian Jones, but Bagley and Jones are cheaper.
Yep. That's definitely kind of the way to look at it. I'm really not getting there the way that I thought I was coming into this slate. Because again, he has been a smash. It's just, there's a lot of different routes they can go. Zach Anderson, Fox, or Halliburton on DK single entry. Fox for sure for me.
What do you make of the recent? What do you make of the recent role for Tyrese Halliburton? And by the way, if you look at Odd Chopper, the prop today for him for assist, it's like as high as 8.5. I might have even seen a 9 at one book. So it's a really significant number. His assist numbers have been totally ridiculous as of late. Have you been tracking what he's been doing from an assist standpoint?
Yeah, because there's a site that I play on quite a bit where we've been shorting it every single time, and it hasn't been very fun. 4 straight games of double-digit assists. But the major thing is the use. Go ahead. What?
Yeah, I was going to say, but you go back even further than that. He's had at least 10 assists in all but one game for the last 3 weeks. So it's something where when somebody has a significant role change, and this role change came about because De'Aaron Fox was in the COVID protocol, and they tried Tyrese Halliburton as the point guard during that time. It went so well that they're just playing Tyrese Halliburton on ball more, even with De'Aaron Fox back. So the point where it's almost made De'Aaron Fox expendable. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Halliburton continues to play this well, that the Kings look to trade De'Aaron Fox at the trade deadline because of this. Now, that aside, my answer is still going to be De'Aaron Fox to this, but I'm certainly curious in Halliburton. I think we're getting pretty close to us having to rethink what his baseline projection should be.
Yeah, he's an insane human being. Very good at basketball. Basically, I think he's what everybody thought Michael Carter-Williams was going to be once upon a time. That's kind of the way that I look at him. Michael Carter-Williams confirmed not good at basketball. Tyrese Halliburton confirmed actual good at basketball. But here we go. Gabriel Mifrin, Keldon Johnson or Cam Johnson on FD. Same price. Also, is Wainwright in play today with no Shamet, or am I stupid? You're not stupid. Quack, quack. Thanks.
So that is Keldon Johnson over Cameron Johnson for me.
Yes. And Keldon Johnson, it's been painful because I've been playing him and it hasn't gone well. A lot of these Spurs slates, I feel like I've kind of guessed right on a lot of the other pieces, and Keldon Johnson just doesn't want to come along for the ride, but such is life. Still like him more than Cam Johnson, and Wainwright is not in play for me today.
Yeah, no, he is not for me either. So Ishmael Wainwright on the Phoenix Suns. I don't know what he plays like 10 minutes or something today. You look at, I'm confused what it is that would even have you getting to Wainwright. His ceiling game this year, I had to bring it up right now. The most fantasy points he scored in a game all season is 18 in a blowout game where he got extended run for 15 minutes. That's the most he's played all season. Last 2 games, 13 minutes, 9 minutes. I mean, you're getting from him like 8 to 10 minutes and not the best points from fantasy production. So no reason to consider him.
I think he was just kind of assuming maybe he steps in and does the Landry Shamet role. I don't think that that's what happens. I think what happens is Mikal Bridges and Cameron Johnson, who is projecting out really well in our tools, really well in the projections, and is a guy I know Greg's been on. So we'll get to him here at the forward. But you definitely like Keldon Johnson more. So I am intrigued what you're going to be doing with Cam Johnson and family here from the Phoenix Suns. So I get where he's going at. I don't play Adam Wainwright in baseball. I don't play Ish Wainwright in basketball. Just apparently just Wainwrightist. I don't like Wainwright.
Well, it's the same reason. It's a lack of upside. Wainwright, the MLB player, clearly better than Wainwright, the NBA player. But either way, lack of upside in the pair of Wainwrights.
Yeah, except for when he throws like 9-inning complete game shutouts and just like found upside this year out of the middle of nowhere. I digress. Let's talk some Awesemo here, guys. We've got 2 amazing offers going for the new year for you. Happy 22 gives you 20% off a year of Awesemo Plus Platinum right now. Happy 22. I know it's a hefty chunk of change to be checking it out, but it's going to pay for its weight in gold. Ask guys like Short Gamer TV or, our friend Jordan Lockhart, Alex Baker, the guy putting them together himself, $1 Million W. That kind of tools and content, the things he's using every single day for his process, are available to you using promo code HAPPY22. It is tough to get better than that. Plus, we have another deal going as well with promo code 2022. That's 22 days of Awesemo Plus Platinum for $20. 22 days for $20. That's pretty fantastic. So use promo code 2022 to take advantage of that. If you want to see our ownership projections, lineup builder, boom bust tool that we're referring to throughout this show, so many more, and NFL action. Like if you want all of the NFL projections for week 18, if you want to have MMA, which is starting up, golf starting up here big time this week, looking forward to that. I'll be on PGA Live before lock tomorrow with our friend Ben Rasa. Very excited to be talking that. Get all of the tools behind the scenes here for that promo code 2022. Stop guessing and start winning. Join us here at Awesemo today. All right, we've got 23 minutes here before lock, Greg. Top end, before we get to Jock Market for that extra half hour, of course, but the top end of forward begins and ends the conversation with LeBron James. LeBron James, how much are you getting to on this slate?
Yeah, I think he's pretty unavoidable. He's in more than half my lineups right now across DK and FanDuel, and there just aren't other guys to pay up for on the slate. And I haven't, let me see actually, how many more fantasy points I've projected for? I haven't projected, so the player I've projected for the second most fantasy points today is Domantas Sabonis. And I have LeBron like 15 fantasy points higher than him. There's nobody remotely comparable to him. And there's guys I like for cheap on the slate, like Lamar Stevens and Damian Jones, Marvin Bagley a little bit as well. So it's not that difficult to pay up for LeBron. Matchup against the Sacramento Kings, we talked about the total before, way higher than any other game on the slate, 231 point total. And I just kind of think LeBron's a little bit inevitable other than something totally crazy happening, like foul trouble or a blowout or something like that. And I mean, the Lakers typically, or if anything happens, the Lakers get blown out. They don't blow teams out, even if the Kings are kind of crappy. But look at the recent games for LeBron. He's looked healthy, which was not the case earlier in the season. He only had 51 fantasy points last game. I don't even think 51 fantasy points would be a terrible outcome on this particular slate, given the lack of high-end options. But other than that, I mean, he's been basically a lock for 50 fantasy points, and he's been more likely to score over 70 as of late than even below 60.
He's going to be so insanely owned. Like we have him for 35.5% on DK. I'm just saying he's going to be 55, 60, 65%. And he probably should be on this slate. Like, don't get me wrong. Raw points projection, like there's no doubt about it. The guy is going to be outrageously popular. Plus, with point guard, small forward eligibility, you can play him at 5 different positions throughout your lineup on DK, which, again, why does that matter? Well, it matters because he can show up in more lineups when people are crunching, when they're putting them together. It's not one spot specific. I mean, he's also playing center here for this basketball team. Maybe they will add that third position here, but the way I look at it, LeBron James, now that I've gotten Lamar Stevens in there for a couple more minutes and I'm getting to some of him, I'm actually getting a little bit more LeBron James than I was before here. Once again, just trying to find paths to get different. There's a lot of, I think, decent chalk, but yeah, guys like Kiefer Sykes, I'm just not going to be getting too much. Sykes scoop. Trey Jones, I think he's fine enough, but whatever. Let's keep going down the rest of the forward spot here. I'm looking over in DraftKings. LeBron James goes into Domantas Sabonis, 26.6%. It's been really nice to see 39 and 40 minutes here, the last two. That means upside. Do you think he continues to be playing these big allotment of minutes? And if so, how much are you getting of him on this slate?
Yeah, so I think the key with the Pacers, it's they just don't have guys to make plays for them right now. So you look at the Pacers injury report right now. No Goga Batadze, no TJ McConnell, Jeremy Lamb, Chris Duarte, TJ Warren, Keelan Martin, Karis LeVert, Isaiah Jackson, Malcolm Brogdon, all out right now for the Indiana Pacers. And of those guys, it's all of the ball handlers and all the guys that are capable of creating offense on the ball. So they just have to play Sabonis more minutes to facilitate the offense. The offense has to run through him in the post a lot. So I think the minutes are here to stay for Sabonis. And I like LeBron more as a pay-up option. But I understand why Sabonis is really popular, and I'm right around even with the field right now on Sabonis. We talked about the total in this game being a little low, so it's not overall my favorite spot to target. One of the reasons I'm lower on guys like Kiefer Sykes and Dwayne Washington than the field is, but I'm fine with Domantas Sabonis just because I think that at his current price, the minutes is gonna more than pay for that. And if you remember last year with Sabonis, he was priced at nearly 11,000 for stretches of the season. So I don't have any issue with where he's currently priced either, even if it is a little higher than it was earlier in the year.
All right. We got a super chat that kind of leads me into the next guy I want to talk about. Dean is high dollar single entry DK. You guys have been amazing, by the way, for all these super chats today. We can't say thank you enough. And the losers win again drops one as I'm saying that. Dude, you guys are the best. Last two in, Sykes Sabonis or Miles Turner, Josh Hart. Wanted to talk Josh Hart. This is your opportunity. Which of that 2v2 are you the most interested in?
It is, even though I don't love Sykes for this slate, it's still Sykes and Sabonis.
Okay, so Miles Turner and Hart. I'm looking specifically here at Josh Hart. He's very popular, 17%, like more popular than I expected him to be at 6,600 here on DK. He's a great rebounding guard and somebody that, or forward, should I say, somebody who can definitely spike some upside. But the problem is a lot of those double-digit rebound games were absent of Jonas Valanciunas. He's going to have some bigs on the floor with him. This team is very, very healthy now. Went from being completely, a go-to team to now you have everybody back in the mix. I don't get to Josh Hart on this slate nearly as much as the field. How about you?
Yeah, I don't think I have any lineups with him on DK. Let's see, 5%. FanDuel. All right, Josh Hart. Yeah, I especially the ownership and his elevated price point, I don't find him interesting at all, especially now that Brandon Ingram's back in the mix. I don't project him very well points per dollar at all. It's a curious amount of ownership going to him.
Yeah. What's up with Dwight Howard? There's going to be a massive range of outcomes for somebody like Dwight Howard being projected. We'll get to it at the center spot. It just depends on whether you guess that he's starting or not. And one, he's going to project for 0 fantasy points, and one, he's going to actually be a value play you can talk about. And we'll get there, I promise. Rest of the forward spots here, we've got some value. And a guy like Brandon Clark as well, if you want to try to make that a thing, 3,800. He was in the winning lineup last night. That always makes me think that he's going to get a little bit more attention here. He's been pretty good in limited minutes. That's kind of nice to see. Maybe if he gets extended to like 27, 28 minutes here, but that's kind of hard to assume when you still have Steven Adams back there. David Vassell, 4,400, another piece of value. Who else out of these popular forwards are you getting to the most of?
Yeah, I still think Brandon Clark makes some sense. So they are going to have Zaire Williams coming back, but realistically, Brandon Clark's a much better real life player and fantasy producer than Zaire Williams anyway. And I think Clark has played well enough that he's carved out a role for himself. I don't think 28 minutes is in the cards, but even if you get 22 to 24 minutes from Brandon Clark as a guy who averages a fantasy point per minute, you're looking at, 25-ish fantasy points. And at his salary, I think that opens up a lot today. So I still like getting to Brandon Clark, even with Zaire Williams back in the mix. Let's see, other popular forwards today on the cheap end. Actually, I want to refresh the ownership too, just see where Lamar Stevens is at now. Yeah, we do have an ownership.
Yeah, we just got it a little bit updated. I mean, he was like 14. Let me see what he finished up at.
He's 6% on DK and 0.6 on FanDuel. Yeah, I love Lamar Stevens at that ownership.
Yep, I'm right there with you. Again, most positively leveraged player here. Let's see, where did he end up going to? Because I think there was an update where I saw he had moved. Lamar Stevens, yeah, still underutilized here. 12.9% optimal percentage. I mean, I'm not saying that he's going to be optimal a ton here, but at 3,300, it is really hard for 30 plus minutes of him to be an absolute bust here. We got that starting lineup from the Grizzlies: Morant, Bane, Tilly, Jackson Jr., Adams, exactly what we expected it to be, exactly what it was yesterday. But now comes the fun portion of the program where we get to talk about the forwards from the Lakers, specifically Talen Horton-Tucker. And we've got 3 questions, I believe, kind of in succession. Nope, 2 of them here. Rabashua, appreciate you. $10 super chat. Always in here. Gents, THT trade rumor stories are picking up today, and people are asking FD to post THT props. Is this a THT showcase game? Do you believe in that kind of thing? And then piggybacking off of it, Aid Balagun, is THT broken in the boom bust tool? 24% optimal on FD. What do you feel about him and the rest of these Laker forwards today, Greg?
Yeah, so Talen Horton-Tucker is a weird case because there's upside in him, but he's all over the place. Like, there's crazy amounts of inconsistency. Now, the reason there's trade rumors about Talen Horton-Tucker is because I don't know the exact date, but I think we've gotten to the point now where he signed that extension in the offseason. He couldn't be traded until around now. And I don't know if we're at that date yet. Either we just we just got to it or we're approaching it. But either way, if the Lakers want to upgrade this roster, they have no trade chips other than Talen Horton-Tucker. They traded away draft picks for forever. They traded away young players to try to get Anthony Davis. So they just don't have any other viable trade pieces. If the Lakers are to make a deal, you have to assume Talen Horton-Tucker is involved. Now, with that said, I don't know how many teams are going to value Talen Horton-Tucker. He signed a pretty significant contract extension in the offseason. And he's been inconsistent this year. He's young. He has all the athleticism in the world. but he's once again just inconsistent. So as a GPP play, is there upside there? Yeah, of course, but he's not somebody I'm building a lot of my lineups around, because you look at his playing time in recent games also, 19 minutes, 22 minutes, 23 minutes. It's tough for me to expect that he's going to play a massive amount of minutes in the spot.
Agreed. I'm pretty shy of trying to take a ton of shots on him. I will say the other issue that we've had for THT is just Carmelo has stepped up, played some bigger minutes, and had some real strong offensive outputs. The last three, not so much, but even before that, we're talking Christmas time, right after, there were definitely some massive games out there where he's starting to spike 20+% usage, and having him out on the floor. Malik Monk has played very, very well, starting to play bigger minutes for this team. Obviously, that makes less minutes available for a guy like Talen Horton-Tucker, and 4,200 on FanDuel is definitely something where you got to have a little bit of a gut check, and you got to probably play a little bit. I have 15%. I'm happy to be getting to 15%. But yeah, the range of outcomes is very, very wide. We haven't seen him play well for weeks now. It's been a long time, but eventually at 4,200, I think there's definitely a possibility any given night could definitely pay it off. I just don't want to be going nuts with a play like that. Thank you so much for those super chats, everybody. And then $5 for Andres Cabellos. Find myself fading LeBron and focusing more on, I'm assuming it's on Fred VanVleet and Siakam in high dollar small GPP. Viable. Love to show some of the best Awesemo personalities. Oh, well, you're one of our favorite watchers of the program. Thank you so much. What are we looking at doing here with those two Toronto guys in conjunction to fading LeBron?
So I don't recommend fading LeBron. I'm playing a lot of them. I don't think that's what you should be doing. Eric liked Fred VanVleet a little bit. He's too expensive for me personally. If I had to roster one of the Raptors guys, I do prefer Siakam to Fred VanVleet, but neither of them are high priority plays for me. Of the guys you listed there, I'm doing the inverse. So good luck. But with all due respect, sir, I hope you lose today.
Well, wow. Okay.
We're playing different guys.
Here's my thing. Here's my thing. Settle down. We're in a good place. Right now, he's talking small field, high dollar. LeBron's going to be like 80%. He's going to be higher owned. When we do ownership projections, they are for the largest field, $15 tournament iteration on DK. When you start going down in field size, there is a definite possibility that LeBron is massively owned. Now, that being said, LeBron is maybe the scariest fade you would have on the entire slate. Maybe build your stand elsewhere. I think you can still play one of Fred VanVleet or Pascal Siakam alongside LeBron. So I'm going to do the middle ground. You took the far right. He's going the far left. I'm going to go down the middle. Play LeBron plus a Fred VanVleet or Pascal Siakam. I think one of the two definitely has some massive upside against San Antonio. I just really like the spot here for VanVleet at 9K plus the center spot. We'll get to that here in a second, but thank you so much for the super chat. Anything else here from Forward? We've got 11 minutes to go. Something you really want to share here. Plus, we're not going anywhere. We got the 30 minutes, so we will be reacting to everything that comes out after Lock Live. Watch. Our opinions can change, Greg, based on news. That's something that I heard we're allowed to do.
No, that's incorrect. Anything you say is legally binding, if I'm not mistaken, on the show.
Read.
Yeah, exactly. Anything you say can and will be used against you in the court of Twitter.com. What was the question you asked me before?
Just that? Who the hell else do you like it for? Just tell me a guy or two. Cool.
So let's see, who else have we not talked about? By the way, we haven't gotten a Spurs starting lineup yet, have we?
No, we have not. It's beautiful. I'm happy about it. Like, I'm legitimately happy because that means edge. Yay. We got Raptors, one Fred VanVleet, Grant, Gary Trent, Anunoby, Barnes, Siakam, exactly what we expected. Continue.
It's kind of an edge. It's not an edge if we go into lock, not know who's starting for the Spurs, and we get some stupid Popovich lineup that none of us were expecting.
Play 65% Marvin Bagley and you'll have the lineup spots. How about that?
Yeah, it doesn't help you with it doesn't help you with whatever the Spurs end up doing today. But yeah, I'm really interested in what they do between Vassell and Keita Bates-Diop, because I think one of them is going to start, and I don't know which it's going to be.
Neither do I, but I know that I'm going to have a ton of Marvin Bagley. Again, I'm not answering your question. I'm just telling you what I'm doing. Here we go. Yeah, that's all we got here from the Forward spot. So let's talk Jock Market. We've got 10 minutes to go. We'll talk center. We'll get ourselves over to that program. But fantasy sports into the stock exchange. It sounds like, pretty simple. It is that simple. It is super fun, super effective, super easy to play. You watch games in real time. You analyze them. You use the pre-game IPO projections that we have, and you can make money every single minute, every single second, every single hour. Download it over at the App Store, wherever you get your apps from, and use our promo Awesemo to get $50 bonus on your first deposit. So that's $50 put into your account free, but it doesn't just stop there. If it's your first market that you play in, they have the first market guarantee, which means the Jock Market will refund any of your losses for NBA up to $100. So you lose $100 on shares, somebody gets hurt, something happens where you don't win enough on it or something else, they will refund the difference. So you're not going to lose. It is a no fail situation. So fun, so clean, so easy. The app is easy to navigate. We're going to be talking through it here live. If you guys are curious about anything, we will be able to cover all of the ins and outs. We have all the projections, which are still free on the Awesemo tab. Go to NBA, scroll down to the bottom, free Jock Market IPO projections, and they will help you beat the market. I promise you, so much fun to play. Check it out. Use promo code Awesemo for that $50 bonus. And thank you so much to them. Looking forward to talking with them here. We've got a super chat, Justin Alperto, Mobley and Bagley, or Jared Allen and Lamar Stevens on FanDuel.
That is Allen and Stevens for me. Those are pretty close combinations, if I'm being honest. I really do like, considering the current projected ownership we have on Lamar Stevens, and I'm going to refresh to make sure that hasn't changed. He's my favorite tournament play on the slate.
Ooh, we're getting fancy.
So he's come up a little bit now, which is a little disappointing.
He's at 18% on DK. That start to get, that doesn't feel good.
Still 8% on FanDuel, but yeah, it was better when he was sub 10%. But I'll go with the Stevens and Allen combination. A little bit less conviction than I had 45 seconds ago, though.
Holy mother of God! We just got 4 super chats. You guys are so. Oh no, we have more than that. Don't we have more than that, Jordan Klein? How many are there that you just sent me? Infinity, 100 million super chats. Let's keep going. Greg, you ready for the speed round? $2 super chat from Tyler Hitchcock. DK single entry, Fox Payne or Halliburton Vassell. Thanks, guys.
That is, but we still don't have that stupid Spurs starting lineup. I know somebody in the chat had said that Vassell starting. I didn't see, News God has not posted that yet, and I didn't see it
Campaign
anywhere.
in the membrane. We're going to do that one. We're going to go campaign in the membrane. Fox Payne over the Halliburton Vassell side, just because I don't want to play Halliburton. And I am a stan for Halliburton, so that should help you with that. Last 2 in for Bodie Mullinger. There we go. Last 2 in. Fred VanVleet, Lamar Stevens, or Trey Jones, Domantas Sabonis for FanDuel.
Trey Jones and Sabonis. I don't like. I think that playing nearly 10,000 for VanVleet is too much for me.
All right, CS $4.99 stuck with 4,500 on DK and need a util player. Best options ?
Let's see. So 4,500 on DK.
Mm-hmm.
Let me just sort and see who I have projected the highest there. Also, there was one super chat that you missed. It was a follow-up from Andres from before, just said, fair enough. Thanks for keeping it real. Enjoy more of my donations. Thank you.
That's going to be my capstone at the end of all the super chats, Greg.
Okay. Well, it was before the other ones, and I was just going I was just going in order. So
that's fair. That's fair. You know what? You're part of this show. You're the most important part of this show. May I add? Continue on. Jordan Klein is the most important part of this show. I apologize. Love you, fella. Bye.
It's Vassell for me. Of players who are under 4,500, he's the one I have projected the highest. Even if he comes, right now I'm expecting him to come off the bench and beta Job to start. Even then, I still like Vassell.
And the $300 for Marvin Bagley. Anyway, Jason Kelly, you might have already covered it. Got in late. Thoughts on Alec Burks and Jalen Smith on Yahoo GPP? Thanks, guys. Alec Burks is sub $20 over on Yahoo. He's a different play there than he is on other sites. Still not in love with him here on this slate, the way that it's all panned out. And then Jalen Smith, he's decent enough, but I would try to find other paths. What about you, Greg?
So which question was this one?
So this was the got in late Alec Burks and Jalen Smith on Yahoo GPP. Thanks, guys.
Okay. So that is Jalen Smith over Alec Burks for me.
Okay, perfect. We've got the losers win again. Once again, why is campaign popping in the boom bust tool along with Westbrook as optimal plays for DK? Well, so nice you asked. I was going to say, it's a slate where you're trying to find upside in. And campaign, it's always a minutes thing. And against the Pelicans, where they're, the largest favorites here on the slate, I believe, 7-point favorites here. If campaign gets extra run in a blowout time, he's over a fantasy point per minute player. So that would be the reasoning for why he would be popping a little bit more. Put 24 minutes in. There's definitely a chance for him to pop. What do you think about him and Russell Westbrook popping in the boom bust tool?
So we didn't really talk about campaign before, but we probably should have. So the Suns are missing some players in the backcourt, and they're names that we would not normally think are really substantial. We've got Landry Shamet is out and Abdul Nader is out. Neither one of them are players that we're ever going to expect to go out and play massive amounts of minutes. But with both of them out, there are minutes to be allocated. And we saw Landry Shamet play last game, and he's pretty regularly been playing bigger minutes. Last 3 games, 29, 23, 24 minutes for Shamet. I think a handful of those minutes are going to go to campaign, and it does make him a pretty good GPP play in my option, in my opinion.
Yeah, sounds good. Last one, $1.99 from Devin RJJ. Thoughts on MG3 and Jones together on Yahoo? No problem playing them together.
I don't have any issue playing them together.
All right, let's get to the center spot here then and round it out. On the top end here on DK, Jared Allen, center forward, power forward. Nice to have that power forward eligibility for him, but the most popular center only guys are Damian Jones and Jakob Poeltl. I think you guys know my Sacramento thoughts here and what I think might happen. If LeBron James starts at the 5, Damian Jones kind of goes by the wayside. If he doesn't, I really like Damian Jones because he's probably matching up with a guy like that. We got Dylan Windler ruled out, by the way. I think that secures Stevens' minutes even further, so that's nifty. But Jakob Poeltl, go ahead.
Vassell starting. So there we go. We got
beautiful.
We got
so make sure you get your Vassell in there because, Vassolino. I love it. Let's keep going. But yeah, MG3, and we answered that super chat. Who are your favorite centers here, Greg, to round out the show?
And then another super chat that just came through. Sabonis, Fox, Washington, Westbrook, Mobley, Vassell. I guess I'll go with the Vassell combination just because we just found out that he's starting. I prefer him as a value option to Washington.
I do too here. So talk to me, Greg, here. Once again, who are your favorite center plays? Who are you getting to the most on DraftKings and FanDuel today?
Yeah, so Damian Jones, to me, overall, my favorite center play on the slate. We talked about him compared to Marvin Bagley before, and I just think the minutes are a little more secure for Damian Jones. Last game where we saw kind of a similar situation in terms of guys that were out. We saw 29 minutes for Damian Jones, 20 for Bagley. So I'm going to side with Damian Jones being the slightly better play than Marvin Bagley, although I am overweight to both of them.
All right, cool. We got another super chat. Cheyenne DeWald. Will Washington and Detroit play the same minutes? I don't think you mean in Detroit. I think you mean in Indiana, but I digress. Do you like Washington? Do you think he still plays the same amount of minutes, Greg?
So last game, Washington played, let's see, what was the exact amount of minutes last game? I have him playing slightly less minutes this game than last game. I still think there's other guys off the bench they could go to, and 34 and a half minutes. That's a very substantial amount of playing time. And while I still think he's probably more likely to play over 30 than under 30, I wouldn't be surprised if we see more minutes go to Torrey Craig today. O'Shea Brissett could play more, maybe Lance Stevenson, Justin Anderson. So I'm a lot lighter on the field on Washington personally, but where did you end up with him?
I ended up with just about none. It's just not a very intriguing game. That game, and again, it's not that you need to look at games because I remember rostering like 4 Golden State guys when they were limited or whatever else. It's just that it's such a thin play. He's not a great fantasy point per minute guy. And I feel like because he performed well, he could be a little bit more popular. I just prefer some of these other pieces of value. I'm kind of finding ways to get up at guard, paying down a little bit more at forward. That seems to be very contrarian. Not that I'm disregarding LeBron James by any means, but I think on DK, you can play him at some guard spots. You can play some of these other guys and find some different routes to go. I really kind of enjoy those builds a little bit more in Washington. Just not a guy that I'm getting to all that much. I ended up with 18%. So, I mean, what did his final ownership end up at? Looking at DK, 18%. So I'm at the field. I will digress, or I will just, say that that's kind of what it is. I'll be making some tweaks in these next 30 minutes here. We've got these 2 games starting with San Antonio, Toronto, Cleveland, Memphis, all off the board. We are at lock, everybody. Hopefully you're able to get more Devin Vassell in like I was here in the waning seconds coming up to lock there. But anything else you wanted to add to anything else that we didn't cover on this slate that you want to talk about before we jump on over to Jock Market and react to some ownership in this early session?
No, I think we overall ended up hitting on pretty much everything that's important. We were able to add in that little note at the end about campaign, who I think we kind of glanced over a little bit when we were talking about guards. Other than that, though, let's hit on Jock Market and tell people how they could get some deposit bonuses.
Use promo code Awesemo. I did. Promo code Awesemo. That's what you do. You plug it in, you get $50 deposit bonus. We are going to be jumping into that right now here. Pre-game IPO shares, that is done. Pre-game IPO is done, but we can still look at the projections, see what their fair value is going to be over on Jock Market. We can try to find some of these top tier plays. There's been some value even in this trading phase before the game started. We found a little bit of that the last couple of weeks. I know Terry McBride, somebody who's been playing a lot over on Jock Market, has been making a killing over there with some of his recommendations. You want to be in the premium Discord checking some of that out as well. Hardest working dude here at Awesemo. The guy does absolutely everything. Customer service, works on, all of the different shows. You've seen him here on Live Before Locks, absolute studs. So I'm just trying to take after him here on Jock Market and try to crush myself. We're looking at the fair IPO price as I'm pulling up the board of LeBron James, 1890. We're looking at Domantas Sabonis, 1750. It's weird to see that thin of a gap between it. But LeBron James, far and away, going to be the most popular guy, the most expensive guy. Where's he coming in on Jock Market right now, Greg? And is he somebody that you're willing to invest in at his current ask price?
So I am loading the app right now. So I got logged out. So I just have to log myself in for a second here. Remember password. Yeah. All right, we're good. All right. So the ask price on LeBron right now is 1853. And let's look at our most recent projections. Also, if you guys aren't aware, we do have projections for Jock Market over on Awesemo.com. So if it's a situation where you look at and it's like, hey, I don't know what the fair IPO price is for these guys, that is a reasonable thing to not know, but we have projections for it, which if you go to Awesemo.com, you go to the NBA drop-down menu, and then go to the projections and you go over to Jock Market. You can check out what we have there. We have is the fair IPO price for LeBron at $18.90. So looks like that 1853 about fair. You can make a case it's a little bit too low, but not necessarily something that I'm going to go chasing after.
My thing is I wanted to see what this with these Spurs ended up at. 560 asking price for Devin Vassell. I think we had kind of projected him in the starting lineup throughout the day. So that kind of makes it easy to cross-reference, but looks like he's a lot further down the board than what I was expecting here in our projections. Devin Vassell, what did he end up at? He's not even listed right now in our on the Jock Market free IPO projections, but he's coming in at 560. Seems a little bit high when you look at other guys in the range. Cameron Johnson, Jaren Jackson Jr., other guys that are kind of in that same cost number. Probably not going to be getting to any Devin Vassell like I thought I might be able to find an opportunity to. But is there somebody here in these early games that just got going that you might invest in right now?
Well, the games did not get going yet. They have locked for DFS purposes.
That's what I meant, Greg.
Yeah,
we have this little interim.
Let's see. Which one should I put on? Should I put on Grizzlies, Cavaliers, or should I put on Raptors, Spurs?
You go Raptors, Spurs.
Okay, Grizzlies,
Spurs,
Cavs.
go Spurs.
Grizzlies, Cavs it is, so I could root for Lamar Stevens. I was just going to put on the opposite of whichever one you said.
So sweet.
Yeah. What is, where is, you said Lamar Stevens was 460?
Yep.
Oh, no,
not Lamar Stevens. I was talking, it was Devin Vassell, somebody I was looking at. Bryn Forbes is up to 539 ask price. Yeah. No. How about that?
What was Trey Jones at?
Bismack Biyombo is a 480 ask price. Please get off my lawn, kids. Get off my lawn.
Looking at these early games, I guess if I'm taking a shot on somebody, I'd be most inclined to buy shares of Lamar Stevens right now. I know we only have a projector with a fair IPO price of $2.50, but I did project him, for me personally, higher than what our projections were. So I don't mind getting shares of him at $2.98.
Carlos Manzo said, hey, Greg, what did you eat for breakfast today? I think that's important information that people want to know.
For breakfast, that was a long time ago. Let's see. For breakfast today, I had scrambled eggs and a protein shake.
Sounds utterly disgusting. Congratulations on
really
being much healthier than. No, it sounds fine. I ate eggs and avocado, so I can't really give you shit, except for mine were fancy eggs made by my wife, the best egg maker in all the land.
Yeah. How do you make eggs better?
You put like actual sea salt on them. Fire, pure fire. Put a little bit, sprinkle it on the avocado. You're all set to go. Have a nice side of berries, maybe some Greek yogurt. It's a very nice, nutritious start to the day. But then I also, might have ate some terrible stuff for lunch. So it is what it is, really.
Taco Bell.
can't have her hearing because I'm training for a half marathon now, which is like been very unenjoyable so far in the early going of it. But like legitimately, you don't want to eat as much garbage throughout the day now because you pay for it later. Like there's really no way around it. Like when we get off this show at like 5:30, I'm going to go for a run and it's going to be very, very bad. I already know it's coming.
Good question here, by the way, in YouTube chat. Guntbag is asking, were they duck eggs? And then I have a follow-up question. Were they your duck eggs? Were they your children? Answer.
So ridiculous. So Jock Market,
Quack.
We're looking at some of these projections.
Quack.
Quack, seek back, everything you guys like. 677 for Jakob. That seems low to me. That feels really low to me. What is Jakob's ask price here from the beginning? Because like legitimately, that is a low number to be kind of looking at here for him. Marvin Bagley up to 460 on the current ask price there. I don't know if we got all of the Spurs in on the projections here because I think we're missing Podol too. Let me just say, eyeballing it, 677 for Jakob Podol. Looking at the rest of the range with like Damian
By the way,
Jones
we got a weird Knicks starting lineup.
Is Gibson starting? Is that what happened?
The Knicks starting lineup is Alec Burks, Evan Fournier, RJ Barrett, Julius Randle, and Taj Gibson.
Okay, so I used to love Thibodeau because he was so predictable. He played all of his starters 40 minutes. I really don't like this guy right now. It's almost like since they've been having issues this season, they've just done some weird things. So first of all, Alec Burks is not something I was remotely considering as far as starting because he just never does. Alec Burks, 6K on FanDuel. I'm going to get to some now.
Yeah, I don't mind. And also nobody's going to play him.
Yeah. Son of a biscuit, Tibbs. You're such a whatever. The real question, are you going to get to any Taj Gibson? I believe he is near the min over on DK. Yeah, he's 3,700, but he's got the power forward eligibility, which makes him a little bit of a different play. I put him in for 25 minutes. He played 30 in the start last time, so maybe I need to increase that a little bit. Is he somebody you might get to some shares of or just complete stay away still?
I'll tell you what I do want to do, though. Sorry, I'll answer that in a second.
You're going to get him on Jock Market right now.
Yeah, Alec Burks on Jock Market. Alec Burks on Jock Market. We've got an asking price of $484 for him.
Yep, I just got him. That was quick.
Oh, you definitely took it from me. Did you take it from me, or did I still get some?
We're gonna find out.
Did you get shares? I got 3 shares. That's not as many as I placed an order for. Oh, so I got more than you.
Well, that wasn't very nice.
But you said you did it before me, and you lied.
I did. No, it was literally going in. I was getting it done.
Liar. Yeah.
You're
so
get off my lawn, kid.
Yeah, that's what. Hey, I'm fine with that. I got 3 shares of Alec Burks. You got 2. It's whatever. But yeah, I mean, Alec Burks is somebody I'm certainly interested in now. Taj Gibson, though. Let's look. I did not expect him to start today. So here's what this indicates to me. Mitchell Robinson probably was dealing with some COVID symptoms, and they don't feel very comfortable playing him big minutes. 30 minutes in a start last game for Taj Gibson. Obviously, he's not going to get those minutes again. I don't mind him as a low-end tournament option.
Oh, yuck. Here's the question. Like, no, I'm not going to go so far as to say that. That's just ridiculous. I don't like Jericho Sims over. Like, how many minutes do you give Mitchell Robinson now?
Like 20.
Yeah. God, this is so annoying. This is really annoying. This is like a Josh Engelman moment for me where it's just like I have to get quiet and think about when the world is going on. I don't really want to go nuts with any Taj Gibson here. I don't think that that's going to be something even over on FanDuel as I'm plugging it in here. He is, I mean, he's 5. Okay. We don't even have to think about him at 5K on FanDuel. Like that's not even like real life.
First Raptors game finally tipped off. That took forever.
Yeah. 10 minutes. That's longer. They've been doing a lot better here. I bet he says to play Naz Reid tonight. You know what, Nick Coleman? You know what? You can go timeout. It's not very nice.
Naz Reid was pretty solid last night.
Yeah. Greg, you're trolling me. And we're on a show together where we're trying to have teamwork. It makes the dream work.
And
Jordan Klein does not care about me at all. He's just laughing. He thinks it's hilarious.
Yeah. No, nor should he care about you.
His job is Jordan Klein. Whatever, he doesn't care. It's just trash. It's something trash.
Taco Bell? Lobster. Oh my God. Fancy Jordan Klein.
You're eating lobster at 4:11 p.m.
This is the difference.
How rich.
Here's the difference between, this is why we need to get Eric off the show and have Jordan, producer, came on and said, Eric, Taco Bell, Jordan Klein, lobster.
You're such a dumb. There are really no words.
We got the Pacers starting lineup, by the way.
All right, cool.
Sykes, Washington, Holiday, Sabonis, Turner. Same as last game.
Yep. We're not doing much there. I care about you too, MJazz22. All right. I also care about Jock Market. Where? Use promo code Awesemo, $50. You deposit 50, you get 50 back. That seems like a really good deal. I would do that. Plus, first market guarantee. Up to $100 refunded into your account. So if Alec Burks, if you deposit $100 plus into him and it doesn't pan out, they will refund up to $100 of your losses. Makes it a win-win. That's kind of the way I see it. Corey Ballmer, Halliburton, Monk, or Burks, J. Smith on DK. Super chat.
That is, at this point, Burks and Jalen Smith for me. Burks is pretty interesting as a tournament option, considering how late he was named a starter.
Yeah.
Numbers for Burks as a starter this year.
Oh, Burks, he's going to play a lot of minutes, I would think.
So Burks has started 12 games this year, averages 37 minutes, 29.15 DraftKings points in those starts. It's a lot of playing time, though.
Shit. I just didn't want to play any Nick, and now I feel like you just have to play Alec Burks. You just have to.
I mean, you definitely don't have to. You
kind of do at 6K on FanDuel.
I mean, I think he's a very good tournament play. If somebody has one lineup, and I'm not going to tell them, oh, you have to play. I'm not going to tell them you have to play Alec Burks. Like, I don't think that's the right terminology. He's a good tournament play, not a must play.
See, Terry Flowboy 420. I love how Greg treats Eric the actor. Thank you. Yeah. He treats me like garbage. I know. I'm aware. It's all right. Just,
you're famous. I'm jealous. I wasn't on Howard Stern show. You were. It's a credit. I'm looking at Alec
Burks on Jock Market. I'm really glad that we got some shares of him, but anybody else that we're trying to get to here, Greg, as we stay on track here, because that's what we do is we stay on track and talk about our sponsor, Jock Market.
Let's see. Are there any players named Eric today? No. Okay. So, Jock.
Play the Eric narrative.
Yeah. I just want to play the Eric narrative now. Let's see. Where's Burks? Where are Burks? And I want to look at Gibson too. We didn't look at 262. Actually, I don't care about Taj Gibson at 262.
Yeah, it's too much.
Burks is asking price got up to 504. We got a little bit of value there. Let's check out what's going on in these games, actually, and let's react.
It sounds like just it is another 3. Man, am I glad I jammed that guy into like every lineup I could there.
Scotty Barnes checked out 2 minutes into the first quarter. Did he get in foul trouble or did something else happen?
I don't know. I have 0, so I'm okay with it. But it definitely makes Fred VanVleet and Mr. Pascal Siakam look a little bit better.
Oh, no, it's Siakam's in foul trouble.
Oh, that's not ideal.
Siakam is 2 personal fouls, but they still took Scotty Barnes out.
That's weird. I
wonder if Barnes' finger is bothering him. He's a thumb injury. He's wearing that big brace on it.
Yep. I'm trying to get the play-by-play here in ESPN of this Cleveland-Memphis game, but it's not showing up. It's not populating. So I don't know what's going on. It's 7-0 there against Memphis. Dude, Cleveland's just good. Like, they might just be a good basketball team, but Memphis is a good basketball team too.
So Kem, by the way, so Kem Birch is who checked in for Scotty Barnes there. I'm kind of interested if this is going to be a game where maybe Scotty Barnes is hurt or something's going on with. Okay, so a couple of things. Scotty Barnes comes out early, 2 personal fouls on Pascal Siakam.
Okay.
Kem Birch comes in early. Where's he on Jock Market?
That's a good question. So again, these are the things on Jock Market. If you're keeping track at home here, what you want to be doing is you want to be getting to all, and I do mean all of the guys that when they start replacing them early in a game like this, there's 8:40 left in the first quarter, and Kem Birch is going to be playing all the way from now until the eternity. So like legitimately, you're getting a guy that is not going to be popping in the projections whatsoever, but just has a completely different role and situation. You want to be pouncing fast on stuff like that. So Kem Birch, 266. That's a larger ask than kind of what you would expect. But is that something you'd be willing to still pay, Greg?
Yes, considering the current situation right now.
Yeah.
He might have to play a fairly significant amount of minutes. This is not at all what we were expecting from the Raptors. So I want to look also, has there been a tweet on what's happened with Scotty Barnes?
I'm pulling it up. I haven't seen anything.
All right. So by the way, there's somebody at the scorers table right now for Toronto again. So who's coming out? Siakam, I assume. Who's coming? Somebody's at the scorers.
Birch for Scotty Barnes. Yeah, nobody's saying anything here.
Well, I'm just looking. I'm just looking at somebody's by the scorers table right now.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't see anything on Twitter. I just did the search, latest tweets, nothing. Couldn't find anything going on with him there. 509 ask price for Alec Burks. I would still get to that, by the way, everybody. That's still something that I'm happy to be investing in. Nick Holman, I'm free. Welcome back, buddy. How we doing? Did you enjoy your time off? It's good to have you back here.
Yeah, good to have you back. Good to have you back. I'm on your team, by the way.
You're the worst.
Oh,
flat out the worst.
Who's off to good starts? From Memphis, absolutely nobody.
Nope.
As they've scored 2 points in the first 3 minutes of the game. Cleveland side, 5 points, an assist and a rebound from Darius Garland. Let's see.
Useful.
So the Raptors now, by the way, we've got Kem Birch. He's got a rebound and a steal in 2 minutes.
Pretty good. I would have been investing in such things, everybody. Again, I don't think anybody was getting too much Kem Birch in DFS today. Just throwing it out there. But on Jock Market, those are the kind of plays where you can make money just by kind of analyzing it a little differently, being able to just use logic. One leaves, one's going to have to play a lot more minutes. Huge opportunity boost for him there. Still under $3. Go get some Kem Birch. Just go get it right now. Promise. It's a fantastic investment.
Yeah, well, I bought shares of Kem Birch before. We also got Rabashua said in the chat, Barnes was slow coming back up off the court after a Vassal miss. So he said that potentially hurt, might have banged knees. Yeah, I mean, I'll say this, with 0 personal fouls for somebody to check out 2 minutes into the game, very out of the ordinary, especially a player like Scotty Barnes.
Yeah, it's not happening unless they get hurt here. Pulled up NBA.com where they actually have stuff populated, so that's useful. Yeah, Devin Vassell, he got a foul here though, but 6 points, 2 for 2 from 3. That's a nice start there for him. Jakob Poeltl, 4 boards already to go along with 2 points. Just stay out of foul trouble for him. 2 steals for Derek White. That is FanDuel useful. Looking at something like that, rebounds, just 1 rebound. So 2, 1, and then the 2 steals for Derek White in 4 minutes, 16 seconds. That's a decent enough start. And then for Memphis, looking up and down the board here at some of their starts. Yeah, nobody on Memphis doing jack squat here. You've got 3 boards here for Steven Adams. It's about the most notable thing from their side. And then for Cleveland, Darius Garland, 5 points, 2 assists, 1 rebound, picking up where he left off and going to be playing a lot of offense here for this basketball team going forward. No doubt about it. Lauri Markkanen, 2 quick personal fouls. He's off the floor. So who are we looking at replacing? Is that Kevin Love?
Would be Kevin
Love's
Love.
ask price here. So yeah, Lauri Markkanen just got taken off the floor. That is an interesting development. Kevin Love,
857 is the ask price for Kevin Love. No, thank you.
It's a big number, but throwing it out there. Scotty back in. Good. Okay. That sounds good. Nick Holman better than Duck Lindquist. Why am I Duck Lindquist? Again, you are just a weird person that made this. You 100% are responsible for Quack Quack. And
no, you are.
Because I said that I like ducks because that's the team. Whatever. I don't even care. I have to explain myself is the sad part. Like, that's the weird part.
Yeah, I don't care what you do in your free time. It's what I don't judge. I just spread the information. Whatever you do is I don't judge. But it doesn't mean you're not going to be known for it. Right? There's certain things you do in life you become known for. Yeah, there we go. Right? I mean, you don't listen. You win a GPP once, you don't become known as Eric the GPP winner. You save somebody's life, you're not Eric the hero, but you have romantic interest with one duck once in your life. People are going to remember that. You know, they'll call you certain things,
or they'll play duck sound effects and absolutely be backstabbing friends. It's fine. whatever. Yeah, laugh about it. Jordan Klein, laugh about it. See you Friday, buddy. Eat some duck in front of you. That's for sure. It sounded creepy when I said it like that. Let's keep going. Yeah. Rest of the board here.
By the way, so good news for us. Trey Jones, the Trey Jones chalk. He plays 4 minutes, has 1 assist, gets taken off the court.
Eric the Jinx Vassell picked up his second foul. Oops.
I would still feel pretty. I mean, he got off to a really good start.
Yeah.
Vassell 8 points in 5 minutes.
Yep, it's true. Yeah, 8 points for him. Jared Allen, Jakob off to a good start here too. 6,100 over on FanDuel. That was obviously a nice piece to be getting to there. Ended up 21%. That's pretty low, I think, actually. So I'm okay with that. Trey Jones there, not off to a good start for sure. Definitely a guy that you and I were lower on. So that's nice to see there. Just 1 assist for Trey Jones. Thanks for coming. Have a nice day, sir. Don't really know if there's super chat. All right.
By the way, the Vassell, the Vassell personal foul got moved to Derek White. Only 1 personal foul on him.
See, I love that. Thank you. Thank you. What is happening? I didn't start Jared Allen in my season long. Yeah, then you got what you deserve there, producer. Troll. It's fine. Orion, $4.99. I set a dummy late lineup and fell asleep, so I faded the entire first 2 games. Who do I need from the Indiana-New York game, or should I go full late night? Well, I mean, you have 3 games to choose from. There isn't anybody completely destroying the slate here yet, so I think you're still in good shape. Derek White leading with 11.2 over on FanDuel. Jakob at 10. Vassell 9.5 there, so 8 points and assist. He's still out there doing his thing. I think that you're just fine, and you're going to play Alec Burks. I think you're just fine. I'm not sure if that's DK or FanDuel that you're playing on. A little bit better play over on FanDuel where he's 6K and the floor is 3,500, as opposed to DK where he's 6,300. But then I think that late night game is definitely something that you should be happy that you're going to be able to stack up here at the moment. Phoenix, New Orleans, I think there's pieces you can get from there for sure. But Greg, what do you think about that? Who are you looking at rostering the most in these last 3 games?
LeBron, for sure. Most of my exposure is to the later games anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Other than guys like Lamar Stevens and Devin Vassell. I mean, LeBron, Chris Paul, Damian Jones, Malik Monk, Campaign. Like, those are all really strong plays to me.
Campaign in the membrane. I love it. Graham, Hart, Ingram, Jones, Valanciunas, exactly what we expected. Nothing fancy here from New Orleans. Thank God. At least that's one lineup. We don't have to think about anything. I like that. Rather than me trying to figure out back and forth how much am I possibly comfortable playing a guy like Taj Gibson here. I'm not going to get to him. I'm not going to play him. I'm going to have like 5% maybe on DK. Maybe.
If you're looking for an alternative punt play, you go to him. It's a low priority play though.
Yeah. Just low priority. Alec Burks, 6,300 on DK. Just really not getting to him nearly as much as I was expecting. Just not remotely. But on FanDuel, 6K. I think that there's a minutes upside beyond the 27 hours Awesemo has projected for him. So, such is life. Try it out. See if you like it. Let's go back to Jock Market here. You got Kevin Love. We got Jared Allen off to a really good start here too. Looking at 13.4 Jakob smashing. Darius Garland, his minutes limit. We'll see what that minutes limit looks like, but he's off to a really nice start. 5 points, 4 assists, 1 rebound. A guy like that who's on a minutes limit, that might be somebody to get more of in the pregame IPO phase. If he gets off to a hot start, maybe trying to sell a little bit higher there. Definitely makes some sense to me. John Morant, 7.2. We're not looking like we're getting much from him. Don't forget on Jock Market too, negative 0.5 for missed shots. So a little bit riskier trying to get to some of that value here, Greg, but 5 minutes to go. Is there anybody that you're looking at a Jock Market that you think is just going misrepresented right now?
Let's see where Kem Birch is now. I mean, I know that we already got some shares there.
291 ask price.
Dude, that's still really low. Kem Birch, it looks like he's going to play fairly significant minutes in this game. He's already got 2 points, 2 rebounds, and
just got a third rebound.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, so yeah, I think that Kem Birch is still going underrepresented.
I think that's just fine. I have no problem with that whatsoever here. I'm kind of finishing up all my Knicks stuff here so that I can Send that off to the presses. Then we just have 2 games to worry about. And that Sacramento Lakers lineup, that might be the last thing to talk about in these last 4 minutes. Who do you think starts for the Los Angeles Lakers tonight?
Let's see. So the Lakers lineup, I think, is going to be so Westbrook, Monk, Bradley, LeBron. Pretty confident those are going to be 4 of them.
Yes.
The 5th starter. There's a bunch of different ways to go, and they change all the time.
Yep.
It was Stanley Johnson last game.
He is no longer a part of the Los Angeles Lakers. That's fun.
I assume they're going to re-up his contract, but as of right now, it would be really funny if they didn't, because Lakers fans have been touting how Stanley Johnson's going to save the team. It'd be really funny if it's like, hey, it's 10-day contract expired. We're not bringing him back.
Lakers fans are the worst.
THT, I think that's most sensible.
THT, he's dynamite.
Right? You agree with that, though, right? So
yeah, I think THT does start. I think it's LeBron at the 5 still. At least that's what I'm hoping, because I have an eternal amount of one Marvin Bagley. I think THT, I still don't want to go nuts, because I think Carmelo Anthony's going to come off the bench and be pretty effective there. He's just been playing a lot better than kind of what I expected out of him here for the last couple of weeks, no doubt about it. But I'm looking at THT kind of being the guy there too, but I don't want to go nuts with his minutes. Still somebody that at 12% you want to get over. I think over on FanDuel, I got 20. I'm happy to get to just a little bit over that. So there you go, everybody. That's kind of the take on that. Man, I just ran this in. I got 40% Alec Burks on FanDuel. That seems too much, right?
Yeah, it's a tad much. What do we get? Let's see. What is the ownership update here for the Knicks news? We have Alec Burks only projected for 2% ownership on DK. Mm-hmm. Over on FanDuel, projected for 4% ownership. 40 might be a little bit too high, but I would want to be way overweight to those current numbers.
Maybe I am going to play 40. I'm going to play 40. Screw it. I think on FanDuel specifically, that's kind of the way to go here. But 428, you've got 2 minutes until the lock here of this game. Alec Burks is our big stand that we're taking over on Jock Market. You can still get him for 514. I think that's nifty. I think the minutes just have to be up from where they've been lately. He's been the better kind of backcourt player here of late for this Knicks team that's just looking for some sort of an identity. And, Alec Burks starting is definitely something where 27 minutes has been getting you there 2 of the last 3 games. If he gets close to 30, that could be an absolute smash for a guy that, yeah, you do get Julius Randle back as well, but still around a 0.9 FanDuel points per minute player here. But don't forget, misses are negative 0.5 there. But Alec Burks, I think he's going to have enough opportunities, does enough other things in the statistical categories to be viable. So, Greg, we've reached the end here of our Jock Market show. This has been a blast. We are cheering for him. We're cheering for Kem Birch. Those are things that we've kind of fallen into based on news that came out late. So if you want to know, pregame IPO, definitely the best time to get players low, but react to the news just like you are in your DFS lineups. Make Jock Market one of the first things that you kind of reach for to be able to react to some news. Make some money live. Use that promo code Awesemo. Get the free $50. Greg, any final words for the people as we get out of here?
No, not really. Good luck today, and let's go LeBron.
Smash the like button for LeBron James, or actually just smash the like button in general, because some people don't like LeBron James, but you should like him for fantasy tonight, no doubt about it. Greg Ehrenberg, thank you. Jordan Klein, thank you as well. You guys are so nice, always so kind to me, especially on these Tuesday shows. Appreciate you guys. I'm Eric Lindquist. Quack, quack.